everybody. Welcome to Chapter 57 of LegionsCast. I am Lord Stephen Bishotti, and I have been here waiting for my companions to join me. I've been waiting patiently, but they all come at the last minute. Nobody's prepared.
I can't hear anything.
They're talking.
What is going on?
I'm sorry.
Chaos.
I
We have a
told you this was
disturbance.
going to happen.
That is
He
not,
can't
that
hear
is-
you because it's in my headset. So yeah,
So
you're
you
not
have
gonna
to tell him.
be hearing. You're ruining everything. Go away now.
He's not going to hear me.
And we can't hear him either.
Chris,
They can't hear you.
hair.
No, they can't.
Talk really close.
Chris, it's time to go.
Welcome to 5-ish o'clock.
Talk close to Joe's face.
I'm sorry. I can't keep him out of any of the rooms here.
Just to be professional, Stephen, please. You can
Yeah.
do that again. Take two.
Take two before I was the show has already been derailed by members of Four Horsemen Studios. And now it looks like I'm the only one here.
I just wanted to give you some space,
Oh,
just
okay.
that's-
Okay. All right. Well, we're back. We're back to do another episode of LegionsCast. I am Lord Steve Bishotti, and with me today are a bunch of awesome people. The usuals are here. Emil Wickman, all the way from Sweden, but he's in my downstairs living room right now. It's awesome. Oh, Legion's Len, Mr. Len LaGuardia is here. He's feeling a little under the weather. He looks a little. You look subdued, buddy. How you doing? You gonna be okay today?
Good. Yeah. I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna take care of things. Don't worry.
All right, we need you. We need you today because you've got a very important job. You gotta count things today so that we can tell who's winning in the battle that we're gonna put on today. It's gonna be awesome.
I will.
It's gonna be inevitable.
Yes. Also joining us, Joe Vassapolo, straight from Four Horsemen Studios. I see him sitting in a room with boxes behind him, and I wonder what's in those boxes. Wanna look
One
through
of
them?
every piece that has ever been made for Mythic and Cosmic Legion sits behind me in these boxes.
Prove it.
Well, all right, here's an example. This is all a bag full of deluxe Legion Builder Dwarf. Any part I could possibly need for that figure I have in this bag. We have it for customer service. We have it for prototypes. We have it for little shindigs like this. So that and plus everything back there.
Awesome. I
Yeah,
believe
right.
you.
We all have bags.
That's
We all
all.
have bags on our desks. That proves nothing.
Show us something we don't have.
All
Here's
right.
something
And,
nobody has.
Oh, there
Oh,
you
that's
go.
ooh, what is that?
This is an original 2-up from like the very first iteration of Mythic Legions. That's right. It's just for
Wow.
a scale comparison here. When they were going to be a smaller line,
Oh
they
no,
make a
come
bigger
on.
version. So this is what we have. This is what everybody owns. And this was one of the first hand sculpted here. So that's the difference in size. This is a 2-up, so when it was going to be scaled down to the what is it, the 1/18th scale or 3 3/4 scale, that's the original size. So I thought people would like a view of this, and here's the axe that is kind of in pieces right now, but no, yeah.
And tonight, if you're in this
beast.
chat, you have a chance to win this.
No, how it works.
Wow, you are awesome, Joe.
So generous.
Yeah.
You know,
So that's
I'm gonna come on. I
actually
gotta
a
bring
hand
something
sculpted
fun,
piece.
right? No one wants to see me. It's all about the toys, right? So yeah, there you go. Sorry about the lighting, but it's a big
So
boy.
Joe, Bill asked if that was a hand sculpted piece, or is that how's
I
that
believe
made?
so.
Wow.
I believe it's a hand sculpted piece.
History in your
They
hands.
didn't eat the dwarf neck yet. It's kind of hard to see
Oh,
there.
wow.
Yeah, that's just the original size. So this was dwarfed by legs and forearms alone, just making it small there. But this was like an original concept for what would eventually become the bronze dwarf. Yeah, it's kind of hard to
really
see,
cool.
but you have a little bit of extra accents in there that characters. The closest thing we have to it in the library now would probably be King Grondon, which is like the red accents painted into the armor. But yep, there's something nobody else has, just like you asked for.
See, folks, on
It's not
Legion's
mine either, it's the
Cast,
studios.
on Legion's Cast, we're not even through the introductions yet, and we're laying down Mythic Legion's history. Awesome. Also joining us today is the man, I gotta say, the man who's, I think, Mythic Legion's reviews I like the most. And is here, and I'm proud to introduce Dorklair, Mr. Drunowski. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Doing good. Glad to be here.
Nice.
Forward to-
And may I say something, Bill? You know, I've said this to you before. I probably have, but getting into Mythic Legions from the beginning, your voice and your reviews are the things that I looked at the most. So you are the one that I was most starstruck at meeting at LegionsCon. I was like, no, of course he doesn't want to talk to me. He doesn't like me even. Oh, I should probably go away. That.
It's funny. Like I get that same feeling just meeting every random person who I see in the Cabal, or like you kind of who they are and stuff, and
Yeah.
you've never met them in person for the first time, and it's like this shyness. It's like, hi, I recognize you. How you doing?
Yeah. Super sweet. All right. Well, we've assembled a team because we're gonna have a little discussion today, and I think that it's possible some of us might not walk away so friendly, because this could be brutal.
What's that?
What you got there, Emil?
No, it's
Oh.
just a white piece of
The
paper.
white
Just
flag.
I'm trying to test the peace movements. How do you do this?
I was like, why are you waving money?
Swedish money. Yeah, it's paint stuff.
So
Then-
we're gonna after, we're gonna talk about two very important factions. One that is very loud in the community, the dwarf lovers. Those guys are out there. I don't know how many there actually are. There might be only 3, but I'll tell you what, they got lungs because they're just loud. They're loud and obnoxious. They like their little
You're welcome.
dwarves. I like the little dwarves too. I mean, I will admit I'm a dwarf fan, but there's just a lot of guys out there that just they're kind of arrogant. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. They're a little arrogant. They're a little bit self-absorbed. They think everything revolves around them, and that is the dwarf fans. So, what's the opposite of a dwarf, guys? What do you think is the opposite in Mythic Legion's world? What is the opposite? If you say dwarf, give me the opposite. What's that? What is that, Len?
I would say a ogre.
Yeah. That's not what he wanted.
That's not what you want. I'm sorry.
You're fishing for it.
Ask
One-
someone else.
One job.
Slog. Is that the answer?
Great.
No.
No,
The opposite
Slog.
of-
Oh my God, Slog! I just realized, Slog is not a troll. We've already said that. It's not troll size, but Slog is actually a giant dwarf. The way he stands and everything, he's a giant dwarf.
He's got
I
that
think every
square
tall-
body shape.
Every tall person is a giant dwarf, I think.
Yeah, but not the bulkiness of a dwarf. It's like,
Or if you're standing next to Big Greg, you're a dwarf.
That's true.
True. Well, all of you fail, but so I think that the opposite of a dwarf is a goblin.
really?
Yeah, that's just my, I thought it was clear for everybody, but I guess it's not so apparent. It's a goblin. And here at LegionsCast, we got to thinking, the 3 of us, and who's better? What faction is better? What faction is more fun? Which is cooler? Which figures are better? If we were to stack these guys up all together and put them in order, which ones would rise to the top and what would fall to the bottom? Would it be more? Would it be even? As far as dwarves, what's cooler? What's the level of coolness here? So we're gonna tier these guys. We're gonna tier all of the dwarves against all of the goblins, and we're gonna see who's the best. We're gonna see if the dwarves rise to the top like the kings of the Under Mountain or whatever they're called. They probably think that's gonna happen, or or are the goblins actually loved more than the dwarves?
Steven, may
what?
I ask you? Do you
Ask
have
me
a
what?
specific, yeah, do you have a specific, like, do you prefer the dwarves or the goblins? Are you leaning before we're doing this? Are you leaning in your direction?
That's why I think this exercise is going to be so important, because I'm not sure myself how I feel. My prediction is I might lean a little goblin. But I don't know. I might surprise myself when we stack all these up next to each other, and I might find myself saying, "No, we got to raise those dwarves up to the top." Joe, Mr. Vassapolo, what's your prediction?
Oh no. You just
I
can't
know
help
that
it.
guy.
Yes, it's 364 days until your birthday. All right, yeah, all right, we get it. We let this guy on. My prediction is dwarves, because they came first. If goblins were so darn cool, they would have been in the first wave. There would be more goblins than dwarves. I got a bunch of reasons why, but goblins are fun.
Goblins are fun. Goblins are fun. You
We
do
let this
admit.
guy on. Speaking of goblins,
Speaking of.
oh, nothing. Okay.
Bill, do you
Sorry about that.
prefer a goblin to a dwarf? Do you have any thoughts?
I am absolutely a goblin guy.
Ooh.
One of my favorite things in the world is Magic the Gathering, and I've been playing goblin decks in Magic the Gathering since the 90s. And it's my all-time favorite thing within Magic. I love Lord of the Rings. I love The Hobbit. Obviously, there's dwarves there too, but like there's just something about the goblins, in their caverns, and just how sinister, but also like goofy and crazy they can be. So I've always been a huge goblin fan. But now to go back to Steve's original thing, I do think there's that counterpart with the dwarves. Like I think the goblins and the dwarves, like that's like they have to have each other sort of, in a collection. And I do love the dwarves. I love the sturdiness, even of like the figure itself, like this buck that they've always had with the dwarf body has always been, I don't know, to me like the most sturdy, one of the most fun body types to mess around with and pop and swap and play around with. So I do love dwarfs, but I am 100% a goblin guy, and you'll probably see more goblins from me towards the top than dwarves.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like it. Len, I gotta think that you're gonna say. I'm just gonna guess, and I'm gonna let you confirm or deny. You're gonna be Mr. Dwarf all the way.
I'd say I'm like straight down the middle. I hate to take that stance on this, but I really like them equal. Like when I first started collecting mythics, I was really into the goblins first. It was like the first like group of characters I was completed on, and I had multiples of the army builders for, because I thought they were just like super cool. Like I loved the way that they looked, because in like a lot of literature and media, goblins are portrayed in different ways. Like they all have different styles, looks. Dwarfs to me are always the same. They always have that same look. There might be a little different from one like fantasy story or arc to another, but goblins can always be a little different, and I think that's kind of interesting. And I've always liked the Mythic Legions interpretation of the goblin, like what they do with them. So I kind of have to sway a little more towards goblin. I like the 2.0 better than the 1.0, but I do like dwarfs too. I don't dislike them.
Nice. And the man who posed the question originally, Emil, how do you feel? That rhymed.
You're a talented man, and I'm happy to get to hear your poems. You know. Now we have a master of literature here as well too. You know, what grade would this master get, Bill? Well, oh, you don't have to say it now.
He's
We
an
can.
alpha, so he gets an A.
Oh,
Ooh.
No.
wow. Yeah. So when I got into Legions, I got a lot of figures, you know, as a big lot, a couple of big lots, and I really wanted a lot of the goblins. And I opened the first one, and I was like, I'm not in love with this. Like I felt with, you know, the skeletons and the knights, and I was like, why not? And then I had a similar feeling to the dwarfs. So I'm usually very, you know, there are a lot of things that I love, and this is a tough question for me. But I know what my favorites are. So we shall see.
Well, we're gonna have fun regardless of how this turns out. But so, are you ready to get started? We're gonna.
Sure.
Yeah,
Before we get
that,
started,
just, Len, may I
I
ask
wanted to just do some housekeeping first. So, basically, we're broadcasting on both YouTube and Facebook. And if you're on Facebook, make sure that you go onto the StreamYard page and allow it to show your comments. Otherwise, you're going to show up like this, Facebook user, and no one knows who you are. The simple solution is to hop on over to YouTube and make your comments there, because that'll let us know. Or you can just maybe probably Curtis will share the link with us in the text thread, and it'll tell you where to go to allow that. If
Can
that's
I
what
can
you're
I say something about this comment?
Sure.
Good readers, really skilled readers who get A's would be able to use the context clues to figure who is actually speaking. Now, Steven, since you're an A, who's talking here? Who is this Facebook user? Who do you think?
Well, it's kind of a backhanded. It's. I think that could be. I'm hoping.
Where'd it go?
I'm hoping.
Oh, I was going to bring it up, Bill, because we have an answer, because he answered himself. And I
Oh,
don't
okay.
Oh, that's the answer.
Yeah.
There goes my. I think it's
Is that
Brad.
You win. What did you win? So just to acknowledge some of the people here with us, we have, I'm not going to go through all of them because everyone's been talking the whole time that we've been talking, but we have Stephanie Ork, Brad Johnson, Pat Boyle, Big Dub, Kirby Smith, Wholesome Warlock, 1-6 Shooter, David Williams, Amer Gonzalez, Joe Gonzalez, Seth, Amateur Hour 24/7, Colin popped in and out, Brendan Higgins. I'm just jumping around here, guys. Big Greg is here, Rob Zamora is here, Kirby Smith, T. Bellette, Nate Strong, Gabo Cast, Maverick, Straight Poop, we saw him, Curtis Ackerman, Kent Pool Collects, and let's see, everyone's just talking to each other, so give me a minute. King Castle Sieger, Chris Ferrone, and that's good for now. Marco Seal is here. Blaze Bear.
Oh.
There's a lot of people here. We got a lot of people ready to do.
Marco Seal, I think,
Do
is a
this.
goblin guy.
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a divided
Nobody's
household.
perfect.
Yeah, that's a family divided right there, right?
Yeah.
Man.
So on that, Emil, if you want to bring up the tiering and tell everyone how that works.
Let's do this.
Anytime.
So, here we go. We have 5 tiers. So that's super tier and A, B, C, D. And we're going to take all these dwarfs and goblins and rank them. So, our absolute favorite characters, the best ones. And we can define best in any way, but the ones that we find are the best. We're going to place them at the top, at the S tier. And the ones who are the worst, let's not say worst, let's say the least great. We're going to put them at the D tier. And the thing is that we're going to rank these together. So everyone in the chat, together with us, are going to do our best to put these in the here where we find that they fit. So you will all, pretty quickly get a hold of how we're doing this. I'm gonna pick up some random figures in a way. I see there are a lot of dwarf in the beginning. I'm not sure. Maybe we should change the order a little bit. But anyway, all of you are in the chat. You are welcome to write S, A, B, C, or D in the chat, and then here we'll try to gather all your votes, and then we'll do our best to place it where we want. Not everyone's happy about this. Probably no one will be perfectly happy with this, but let's see how good we can get this list together. Are we ready? Any questions? Yes, Steven, are you anything that I missed?
No, I'm not, no questions. I'm a little. I want to point out that it looks like you've included the upcoming 2-pack of dwarves as one pick. Okay, just to be clear, I just want to make sure that I'm looking at that correct.
When we're there we go. Look at the heads there from Joe. Okay.
I've got a bunch of goodies around here.
Because the thing is, when we go with best, it feels like some people would probably look at a figure and think about the value of parts that you like or not, and some will see that the bio is awesome or perfect, and it's like, so it might be a weird choice, but I choose to take them together here.
That's my approach too. I look at it as which product that you can go out and buy is your favorite, and that's the product. It's a 2-pack, so.
I feel like it's an unfair advantage, but I'll roll with it.
Yeah,
it is absolutely an unfair advantage.
So,
are you
guys,
saying
someone
that you
has
think
an
that will
echo.
end?
Does anyone have maybe it running in a different room, or is there like a mic feeding back? Everyone clear?
Do you hear an echo from me?
No, we're all good.
I hear it, but I don't know where it's coming from.
I hear the echo as well.
Joe, say something.
Say something. Something.
If I mute my audio.
Emil, I did go in and change your. I turned off your echo reduction because you were garbled when you were talking before, and it did remove the garble, but I don't know if that messed up with the echo.
huh?
Because we had comments in the chat too saying there was an echo and some garbling going on.
Is the echo gone, or do we still have it?
Emil, do you have headphones you could put on?
I could lower the volume instead, like this. How about that?
You're already a little low. Trevor's saying he thinks it might be Joe. Now
No,
it sounds
Alright,
clean
well,
to me.
I hear Joe's voice echoing, so it can't be Joe. Is it?
And
me?
I have vibrators. What do you call them? Yeah, there's no sound coming out of these.
Do we still have an echo?
Hello?
Yep.
Turning it down even more.
Curtis is saying it's Emil.
Curtis is saying it's Emil.
Try. I'll just hold on. I'll turn on. Sorry, everybody. Just hold on 1 second. So go ahead, Emil. Talk.
Is it me?
Well, we need to talk to see if it echoes through Emil's sound.
Hey guys,
Hello.
is it me? Am I
hear it
echoing
now.
through eternity?
I don't think so.
I think it's good now.
Yeah, you're right. I think it is good. It must have been something
probably.
with the
Maybe it is
software.
me. I'll look into headphones for it. But now I just lower the volume. So
I
if
think
we're good,
to
then
go.
let's start.
Yep.
Let's start.
So I think I'm gonna try and make it so we get every other goblin and dwarf maybe. Let's start with the bog goblin, one of the earliest dwarfs. Is it the earliest dwarf? I mean goblin. Sorry.
Yeah, it was the only goblin originally, right?
Yeah, I'd say by name. Absolutely.
An A. Now
I would
now
probably
we're
put it in the B-ish range, but I don't actually have a bog goblin. I have the head from the heads pack. But when I think of it with all the other goblins and stuff, I probably put it in the B range.
as we start, this is probably where I want to put it as well.
I think it's good to get it up in the middle, and then we can
Move it from
He
there.
might get bumped around as it goes. He might get bumped up. He might get bumped down.
I gotta get
Also,
one
I
of
don't know
those.
if we said this, but if you're in the chat, be boisterous and let us know what you're thinking, because we do take that into account. So
I love it because you can easily turn it into a dwarf.
I don't know. The thing was really revolutionary. It was really cool, that first wave. It really gave a lot of variety to creatures and stuff, because that first wave obviously was a very limited set of parts. So this one was always one of my favorites in the very first round. But we've come out with so much cool stuff later. I think we should. I think putting him somewhere in the middle. Did Len disappear?
He said he was gonna potentially hang back a
Hello.
little bit sometimes.
He's
I don't know.
playing with the system.
There he is.
I'm playing.
Okay.
So
I think that's a
Are
good
we-
place to
just-
start.
Yeah.
just to put everything in an order. Oh, one more detail before we've not decided where to put this, but the thing is that we're gonna try to have an even amount of figures in each row. So there won't be like 20 of them will be S tier and 2 will be D tier. Thing is, let's see, there are 28 figures. So there will be 5 or 6 in each.
All right. Sounds fun. Ready to move on? What's the chat? Is the chat being boisterous at all, Len? Or
Yeah, actually, there is a lot there, and it is mostly for bees. I'm not going to tally this one up right now because it's we're in the early throws, and I don't think it's as important. But the consensus seems to be B with a couple A's.
perfect. I say we move on.
Let's move on with the first dwarf. And here we have anyone who has the, I'm testing the guests.
Oh, this is a quiz.
Yeah, well, I'm trying a little
Go ahead,
bit,
Joe.
just quizzing. Both are.
No, for the longest time, that was my second favorite dwarf. Because when I think of one, that's almost quintessential.
Yeah.
You said for a long time, so now that's not true anymore.
Because it's its own character, it has a background, it has its own look. Mine has changed, and I'll bring it up when we get to it. But yeah, I hunted this guy down for a long time and eventually got one. But I just love the colors on it.
Okay, so one thing that I find interesting is that we look at many of the dwarves are using pretty much the same parts. There are a lot of dwarves using the same parts, and still, this is one of the dwarves that I feel somehow pop out. Like looking, I get a more powerful feel for this one. He just feels strong, and I don't know exactly what it is that does it. Maybe just the horn, those horns with that head or something.
I think it's the color patterns too. It's
Yeah.
it's a very
Yeah.
warrior like all business kind of pattern, but detailed. You know what I mean? It's not just a solid builder. It's got a lot of details in it.
I think it's a dwarf that set the standard
Yep.
early on. There's a lot more. There's a lot more colorful, ornate, glamorous dwarfs that have come
Yeah.
after it, but he kind of feels like definitely he is one of the ones that started it all. So yeah, I think he sits right there with the bog goblin for now. Is that accurate?
I
Or
agree.
is that what we're feeling?
Joe, you said that this used to be one of your favorites. Would you want to rank him higher, or are you good with it around here?
I think I'd have him closer to. No, B's fine. Now that I think about it,
He's
B's
fine.
fine. And that's only because the parts have been used so many times on other figures, but when they first came out, um, everything on them made sense. And I see that helmet, I also think about the Barbarian Builder, the
Hmm.
very first one, how it came with that. But I just never, as good as it looks, I never thought it looked right on a human. I always thought it looked better on a dwarf, and it was one of the original to have that head. So to me, whenever I see that head reused, that's the Bothar head, and that's not the Barbarian head.
Yeah. I still look at him and I think he's so strong. He's so
Yeah,
powerful, compared to many new, more finely refined, detailed characters. He's one of those like, yep, you captured the strength there. I wouldn't want to put him lower, maybe even bump him up, but I'm fine with leaving him there, but I don't want to have him lower at least. So if Stephen, are you fine here as well, or do you want to?
I'm fine here and well, unless we're getting a huge outcry from the chat that says we need to go high.
Well, Steven, so far I have the chat has the highest ranking is C with 10. B is a close second with 9. A is 3, and D is 1.
So B or C, then I guess we can decide that we put it at B. Our votes count as well. So it's slightly leaning over to the B side then,
Right.
and then we're
Slightly to the C side.
yeah. But you only said that they had like one more vote or something.
Right.
Yeah, but we have four or five votes to the B as well.
Someone changed their vote to C.
I think he's good for now. It'll
Right,
get it'll come out in the wash.
You're right. So let's take the next goblin, and the next goblin we see is the deluxe builder. I'm just dropping it here, but I'm not placing it there. I'm just dropping it so we see where we have it.
Yeah.
Please, Bill, you had a
I'd
comment.
probably put it at C. Like when I think of it in terms of like all the other goblins, like somebody else said, I think maybe Len said, I prefer the 2.0 goblins, and this is a very basic dwarf body. And it does have the unique goblin head, which is cool, but yeah, I sort of, in terms of goblins, this is probably one of my least favorite.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that, Bill. Although I do love his head, I do love that face.
This pose, that pose.
Yeah.
This is the pose for him, right?
Yeah.
But Joe, what are you thinking?
I like it because it's easy for you to turn them into a dwarf. I'm just gonna keep saying that. Um, it reminds me too much of the bronze dwarf. To me, it's a bronze dwarf with a goblin head. Even though I really do like this head. I didn't want too many larger dwarfs in my larger goblins in my collection. I'd rather those type kind of stand out. So yeah, when I bought this guy, I have one as is, and all the other ones I got were switched over to dwarves. I'd probably have him closer to, let's see, who else do we have in there? Honestly, I think he's more of a D compared to
Yeah,
everything
D.
else I'm seeing on this list. I would say D.
I'm kind of with you there.
There's a lot of D in the chat too.
The chat is shouting for that as well.
You may have our first D character.
Is
Interesting.
there the
One
pug?
One thing I will say about the value of this figure is in customizing. It's a solid color all the way down the body. It's a really good figure to paint and to just try out painting on. It does have that aspect going for it. Like it's more so something that's fun for customizing than a lot of these other figures.
Yeah.
But not everybody is going to value that,
Wow.
Yeah, I would even argue that it's probably the best body right now that you can put the accessory dwarf head on
Right.
right out of the package. And because they all came out around the same time, color's not an exact match or anything, but the fact that you can do that,
Yep.
an instant dwarf for that head, I'm good to go with it. And it comes with that orc neck, that 1.0 orc neck, which is a little funky. So if you
Oh,
have a
yeah.
dwarf head, you need to have an extra neck to go along with it.
And-
But that's why I like this one. But like I said, I see it more as a dwarf fodder than an actual goblin character.
And this is how it looks without the helmet. So, I have to try and play with all the parts. I feel like, something scary where I have all the body parts on the screen, but just with, yeah, it could be something.
Emil, I've seen that head like that very recently.
Oh, you
without the
have?
helmet. Yes.
All right. I have
Okay,
a tally from the
Len.
chat. The highest rank here is D with 10, C with 9,
Oh,
B 2, and A is 1.
so definitely C or D.
I think it's D. Because
think
if
it's
the
D.
D is winning in the chat, I think D is also winning in our
Yeah,
little.
Yeah, none of
but
us are really arguing against D here, so
then we go with the next dwarf. Let's move on because for everyone who's seeing one of these tierings for the first time, at the end, since there will be 3 of these rows will have 6 characters and 2 of them will have 5.
Okay.
Let's see, did I count that right, or is it? I'll double check. Maybe it's 4 of them that will have 6 and 1 will have 5. But at the end, that's when we're gonna rearrange these and move them around. So to get some speed on, let's bring in King Bromden.
All right, I'm gonna start. He's S tier for me.
same.
You want him up at S tier?
Yep. Me too.
Oh, you too?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's
He's one of my
they're
all-time
two very
favorite
quick.
Mythic Legions figures. Like, he's incredible.
Joe.
I would go with A. I think he's great, but what makes him special really is the head sculpt, the crown that you only get on that figure, and one of the earlier uses of soft goods.
You know that his body is the first. This is the first custom I ever did. My first pop and swap was to take the King Bromden parts and
Nice.
use some of them for my own Baron Voligar. Then
It's
Baron
funny you should
Voligar
say
walked
that.
around.
I wanted to have a King Bromden just to look at when we're talking about this, and I don't have any heads left for him available to even show on the figure. So yeah, when it comes to customizing,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That body got me into sculpting in 3D. I started sculpting just because I wanted a Baron Voligar head for that one. So it's actually, I realize I have an emotional investment in this one.
For me,
I just
The parts left, but he's still in parts. But I haven't repainted them.
Yeah, he's got a very regal look to him. I
Yeah,
love the colors in the armor, the black, the gold, the red. You can't go wrong with it. I'm not all that big a fan of the helmet that it comes with because, I mean, I see that and I think jousting helmet. So to me, it doesn't make sense that it has that, even though it's a great part to use on, other knight characters. But I remember seeing this come out in the Advent of Decay reveals, and I was super excited for it. Oh yeah, and the weapons that come with it are great.
Mm.
Yes, that's
And that
everything I would want to see on a dwarf.
and that piece of soft good, the fur. I
Yes.
love that piece of fur.
Yeah.
More fur to the people. So we are up here somewhere in S and A. Bill, you said S. Joe, is it A? Steven?
I said S, but I mean I could live with A for now because
Yeah.
options are still open.
I don't know if it's S or A for me, but it's up high. I could go with S and just move it down later if we need to.
Yeah, I think it's fun there.
Yeah. So, Len, are you ready to bring in the votes? There you are.
Hey, I'm back. This one's kind of a runaway, folks. This is all S's. So if you want to know
Oh.
roughly 1, 2, 3, 4,
Wow.
10, 11 S's, 2 A's, 3 A's, and one of those, 4 A's, and that's it. One of those was Trevor Williams, in case everyone wants to know.
Okay.
So,
Easy peasy then. Let's move on
yeah.
with the classic Goblin Legion builder. This is a classic.
I'd
Yeah.
probably go A with this one.
A.
Yeah,
Oh,
I would
now
agree
you
with
please.
that.
You tell us why.
So for me, it's the versatility. One of the things I did immediately when I got this figure was just try out all the different combinations, and I just could have kept going. There was just so many different combinations between all the different heads, the weapons, all the different things you could do. Like it's just one of those, kind of like the elf from Advent of Decay. It's in that kind of range of like this just incredible builder figure that is an amazing introduction. You know, it was a $22, $25 figure, whatever at the time. It just, to me, it's the epitome of builder. Just absolute fun figure to just play around with, build out. Great for customizing. Yeah, I mean, obviously it doesn't really rank up with any of the paint stuff, but there is some pretty good paint because you have these head sculpts that have some great paint on them too. But to me, it's all about like it being like, in my opinion, almost a perfect builder type figure.
The perfect builder. Is that Joe? Why is it up there for you?
Even though, I mean, it comes with 2 heads. So right out of the package, there's 2 very distinctive looks that you can get out of that one figure. Also, that helmeted head looks good on 2.0 body. So with the right, neck adjustments and adapters, when you put it onto another body, as we'll see later on in this, it works just as well. I wouldn't mind having like 4 or 5 of that particular unhelmeted goblin head in my ranks on a shelf altogether. I would say this.
Wow.
I'm just looking ahead a little. As far as the builder, yeah, I would say this is like the quintessential goblin representation thus far for them. And with it being the first, it was a pretty big deal. So I would have it higher than B for sure.
That's I
Lots of
didn't expect
personality in that little
you to
face.
go put him up this high. Stephen, are you along on this line as well?
Well, I like the figure. I think for all the reasons everybody is saying that there's some value there, but figures always suffer with me when they're not named characters.
Yeah.
And as far as a ranking is concerned, I love builders. I love them in the background, but they're in the background for me. As great as this figure is, I probably would have went more C, ish. So
I'm leaning towards C as well. So,
Split the
but I
difference.
mean, same there. I agree with all your arguments for going with him, putting him at A. Maybe B. No, I love that head sculpt.
See, I'm
That
attached
goblin
because it
head
was, it's so early on.
Hello.
Nice.
Yeah.
hey, Len.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
So,
Let's go.
there was a lot of voting on this one, a lot of volume. We have a tie between S and A with 9 votes each,
Wow.
2 Bs and 4 Cs.
So people are really attached. People are really A and S for this guy.
Well, 2 Bs and 4, so 6 sub A's.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's put him in A then.
Now, I will say that there are a lot of comments about him being great for customizing, which that seems to be the overall reason, and a lot of people are voting him up higher, which is great. Anything counts. And as long as I'm here, let me make a request to everyone. Guys, please vote once. And don't give me like in betweens. Don't say like a B to S, because that's not. I'm just not going to count those. I can only count like a hard count. So say like this would be Goblin. Just put Gobbo S or Gobbo A, because when I'm trying to tally these, like any votes that are ranges, I can't count. Or like don't use like pluses or minuses. So pretend like this is a school that has no like pluses in the grading
The
system.
Scantron.
Yeah.
The
Awesome.
Scantron, just fill in the bubble with your number 2 pencil. And
And this, I guess, really is the thing when we're talking about the best character, because people, you know, we both of you talked a lot about the customizing value for this. So, all right, let's see what we go with the dwarf. This is the bronze dwarf. That is not bronzed color. Right?
In antlers alone, yeah, unfortunately.
So I'm not putting it at B. I'm just dropping it so we can see him. Well,
very.
why don't you start? Or Steven, you were want to say something. I saw that.
I was just jumping in and stepping in front of the line. Great figure early on. I think by today's standards, we have to just say that it was cool, but it's a D for me.
And I would agree.
It's all one carrot. It's all one color. It's great for. I mean, you're going to customize. You need parts. Have a couple of these guys even sitting on your shelves is cool. I'm not knocking the figure, but compared to everything else, this is a D for me.
This is one where current marketplace makes a difference. Like when I think of this, and then I think of the Goblin, the deluxe Goblin builder that you can go on Four Horsemen right now and buy for $26, and then this one that's not really available. I mean, I know it was in the reinforcements one, but it's not really available that much anymore. So it's like when I think of like comparing it to that, like I'd rather buy the Goblin. It's a lot of the same parts, very similar color. So yeah, I kind of put this a little bit lower. I know I shouldn't do that because it's, you know, we're going to be ranking things that are long sold out and whatnot, but yeah, I would probably put this down there in the D's, in the D range too,
In the D lane as well.
for me.
So, Mr. Dwarf guy, what do you say?
This is a little rough because this was the first Mythic Legion that I customized.
Sentimental value.
It was also my first dwarf altogether. So I'm a little torn because I was so excited to have one. And, you know, I thought it was a great figure, but it stirred something in me that's like, it's good, but I think it needs a little bit more because of just being that gray color. So believe it or not, I would also have it down with D because it's,
Wow.
yeah, well, it's almost exactly like the Goblin to that effect. It's good for customizing, and it's good to have a couple of them. But do I want a whole shelf full of them? I probably have about 6 or 7 of this character, and all of them have paint on them. There's not one on the shelf that is as is. So when I see it as fodder, that's great. That's like saying plain white paper is great, but I'd prefer a fully painted piece. So I would say D with this guy.
Can I add just one thing that I do like about this figure, and this is a very narrow little audience. I think me and Joe Suter, and there might be like 2 other people who are this audience, but people who love pure pop and swaps without any customizing. Those gold antlers are phenomenal. Like there's a quite a good number. I mean, even just the new Gorgo Etherblade 2, like just
Absolutely.
putting those antlers are fantastic. So there's that one little redeeming thing about this figure in terms of like that might be a value of some people. Like those are great antlers.
Yeah. Yeah,
That was
agreed.
Hello.
Here come lens check.
Then,
Here we go. So let's see. This one's interesting. A lot of input on this one. The highest ranker of it was C, which are 12, D 6, and B 4. So there were certainly a lot of C casted votes for this.
It
I
feels like we
personally
should move
really
him up
like
there.
this one myself. If I can like throw that in the mix, I love like the finish on this. I think it was one of the first figures that had that cool like matte black finish, and I always
Yeah.
thought it was a really cool dwarf. And I would put him more like in the B or C range, and not D. But that's just me.
And when you say that, I mean, I prefer, when you're customizing, I prefer the matte parts. The shiny parts are they're way harder to repaint, and even if you
Yes.
base coat them and repaint over, after a while, it's a big chance that they will be glossy somehow, even though you don't like. So that is a good reason when it comes to customizing. Yes,
Right. And
but
that was
then
exactly why I went ahead and painted this guy first. Because of just how flat it was and how the texture of the paint, I knew that it would take other paints very well.
Show us that, Joe. Yep.
And as far as it looking like the goblin, just holding them next to each other, I'm sorry, I know the lighting's crap in here, but essentially this guy's more gray, and he's a little bit closer to blue,
yeah.
just slightly closer when you compare the two. But yeah, it's a lot of the same. So when I think about it, as much as I like it, I see it as fodder. So I would have it on the lower end compared to everything else that's coming up. I would have it lower.
Then I would say let's move on, because I mean we are all excited about all of these figures, but I'm just speeding it up
We got a lot.
slightly.
We got a lot to do.
Yeah, we
Yep.
do. Gonks is not B here, but I'm just gonna throw him at A to hear what you guys say. He's the first. Well, no, he's not the first. But I mean, okay, the bog goblin is a goblin, but Gonks for me kind of feels like the first real bulky goblin. In
Yes.
my the
Right.
bog goblins are slightly something else. This is more like a core goblin to me,
Yeah.
And the I like the idea of having a big, strong goblin like this among all the small ones. Like you even have size differences among the small goblins, and I like the rusty armor, still today.
The paint job is a huge plus on this
Yes.
figure. It's pretty amazing how it looks.
Yeah, when I think brute goblin, this is awesome. It also uses those more the larger aggressive gauntlets that we
Yeah.
don't see all that often on other figures. There's another one or two I think later on that'll. Oh, nope, no one else has those. Um, yeah, it's great. He looks like a really like rough and tumble, intimidating guy. Even to a dwarf, I think a dwarf will see a goblin thinking that's a pushover, and they see this guy's like, uh-oh. Like he took one of us out. He's wearing their armor.
Having those gauntlets make the arms longer, of course, and that gives it also a lot more goblin feeling,
Yeah, yeah,
So
it
so
looks
it's
aggressive.
yeah. So do you guys agree with the A spot here, or
I think I lean a little closer to B, but I am okay with A too. Like I think this is a fantastic one. The paint really sets it up and above the
Yeah.
rest to me.
yeah?
But I also see Gonks at A, and I'm like, I kind of like Bog Goblin more than Gonks, just for like the paint on that head alone because it's so
So
much better.
it kind of with you, Bill, as well. Both of you wouldn't mind putting, taking
I
him
am
down.
at B. I am at B with it.
Yeah,
but
okay,
I
you
wouldn't
are at
mind
B.
A. Yeah.
Steven.
This is a hard one for me. I'm struggling between A and B. I think this is one of the cooler figures that ever came out in the Goblin.
Yeah.
Well, in all of the altitudinally challenged characters. The I don't know. He's his rusty crummy armor, his big size. He came with a mace. I think that's always cool. Yeah, I mean, I can live with a B, but I'm thinking more A. But if B is the choice,
It
I
sounds
can-
like we are divided here because I also want him up at A. So let's see. Let's see. Maybe we'll hear like, what do you say, Len? Welcome.
Well,
the
What do
voice
I
of the
got?
people.
In.
Starting with the highest is A with 11,
Wow.
and then B with 6, C with 3, and D with 2.
there's an argument for A there, then, right? Like I'd
There is
say,
definitely an argument
think-
for A.
Let's.
And
Yeah.
Billy Beige, if you don't start doing it right, I'm going to kick you out.
But I mean, there are a lot of drops. We had votes both on B and C as well. So it's. But okay, let's put him here. But I have an idea that we have to remember that maybe he will be one of the ones that we slide down.
Right. Yeah.
Going back to the dwarfs, we still have somehow, this is random, but it feels like we really have most of the 1.0 bucks so far. There will be a lot of tiny goblins coming out sooner. So here we have with the cavern dwarf that I for so long thought was the bronze dwarf because he looks bronze. I think I'm not the only one, and I'll let this one symbolize both the first version and the new one. We'll take them as one. Are you guys okay with that?
I'm
Yeah.
fine with that.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the one you can get right now has everything, including the stuff from the first one plus the extra new head, and that's the one that's currently available, right? So
Well, the new one doesn't come with this bearded head, the original bearded head. It only
that's
comes with
right.
there's a
the
head
new
missing from
style.
it? Oh, okay.
That's right. Maybe we
Yeah,
should have done
it
two
comes
then.
with the two heads and the one without the beard as well.
Oh, I didn't realize
yeah, I
that.
have one
Okay.
open over here, but yeah, it came with this helmet and this head.
Oh, I didn't
So
realize that.
then, can you take up the other Kevin dwarfs instead then? So then I will say, I will apologize for this, but because maybe we should have put both of them in, but for now we'll take them together anyway. But you're right, that turns it into another character, really.
Even before the new release, the Reinforcements 2 version, even before that, I considered this up there with that goblin. Like, this is in that same
Wow.
class of Advent of Decay builders that just raised the bar on builders, and they came with tons of stuff and were just absolutely like amazing army builder type characters. And so, yeah, I mean, to me, again, because I like the uniqueness, like the goblins are just a little more unique to me. These use a lot of the same parts that have been, like the goblin parts aren't as widespread. So I do put the goblin builder ahead of this one. So what did we have that at A? So I might put this at B.
This photo, by the way, it's just it's kind of turning me into a dwarf guy. It looks
You're just-
really
You're
powerful.
just shrinking down,
Forever.
stocky.
Yeah.
It's the magic he does.
It really brings out the shine of that armor. Even though it's one solid color, like that armor is beautiful.
I agree. I still am not sure about putting him in A, so I'll lean towards the B anyway. For this.
I also lean towards B. I love this character. This was a course correction for me. I remember the first Kickstarter, I passed on all of the builders because I wanted the named characters with the paint apps, and I regretted that sorely when Travis got his all-in. Plus, they used to do those 6-packs back then where you could get like a 6-pack of a certain dwarf, and Travis, my buddy, everybody knows, most people know him. He got a lot of those 6-packs, and then I remember just playing with this mountain of builders, and I was like, boy, did I screw up. So when 2.0 came out, excuse me, when Advent of Decay came out, I said, I'm doing builders. And I bought that 6-pack of these, and I bought that 6-pack of the goblins as well. So, I mean, I remember having just a ball playing with those. So he is kind of sentimental. to me. So I think he's at least a B to me.
Pleased to be.
Hey, you ready?
Shoot.
Not as much action on this for some reason, but let's see. The highest ranker was B with 10, C with 5, A1. There was one S, and someone voted an S tier for the photo.
Oh yeah, that's good. I agree on all of that.
Every factor counts, right? Like every element, every aspect counts, right? Like
Exactly.
it's just personal
Yeah.
opinion. So hey, there you go.
Yeah, I would be good with B because you can get 3 distinctive looks with this figure, especially with the re-release and that alternate head. So that's why I feel like it's maybe definitely better than the bronze dwarf, the original one. It comes with 2 sets of horns, so for every for the 2 heads that can accept horns, you can get 2 different looks per head, depending on the horns you put on it, and you can use those horns for other things. Plus, I know other people pointed it out, but I just feel like I need to. The pauldrons that come with Zende, they're just a shade off from the Cavern Dwarf's armor as is. So if you wanted to have a slightly different look, you could take Zende's pauldrons and pop them on there for yet another look right out of the package, just swapping 2 pieces from this for an alternate look. And I think that's a lot of fun. And I like the color on this guy a lot more than the original Bronze Dwarf, but of course I don't think it deserves to be too high because there's a lot of other characters coming up that have far more detail and distinguish appearance.
So it's solid at B. We shall see one of these Bs if they're gonna drop because I mean,
Yeah.
They can't all be bees.
You know,
Right.
Bs.
exactly. Okay, so the next goblin will be another 1.0 body, and this is the Hellfire Goblin, coming with the Aether wave, which is the first wave that I pre-ordered. Yeah.
Nice. I
Um,
might have packed your order because that's around the time I started working here.
wow.
Yeah, during the shipping of this wave. So
Congratulations. That's a long time ago now. And I mean,
yeah,
I was really emotional. I was sitting on the back side because that was in August or July or something. I was sitting on the back side of the house the whole day with headphones on outside watching the live. But where did we put him? You know, he came with feet and new hands and that new uh, body and it was we haven't seen that weapon since Brother Mandibulus as well. So it's like maybe it's the first time with a bow as well. So where to put him?
I really like this one. This one is one of my favorites. So I'm going with A with this. I love the red. I love the paint job. I love the crazy tongue that you can do with him on this version. I just think he's a drastic upgrade, even though the Bog Goblin is cool too. Yeah, he's an A tier for me. So you guys have at it. I have spoken.
You have spoken. We agree or we shall not agree.
well, not just because Steve said it, but I would also say it's close to A or S for me as well. Simply because I feel it's better than the original Bog Goblin because of the hands and the feet. And you get multiple sets of hands with this as well. You get 2 different heads, you have 2 different tongues, and that helmet. So you could buy, I don't know, 6 of these guys and get 6 distinctive looks. You can buy more than that. And not to mention that it's very easy to turn into a dwarf.
Bill?
But yeah, the paint scheme on it is fantastic.
I'm very high on this one as well. It's so unique. The paint job on the flesh parts, it's just such a unique character, and it's fully painted. It's just fully loaded, and so I'm having a hard time. But I'm sort of in between A and S right now. But if I had to pick right now, it'd probably sit at S for me when I look at the other things that it's near. For me right now, it probably sits at S. It might move though.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and Steven, you were into S as well.
I would
You
I would
wanted
have
an
no
S.
problems. I think A is minimum for me. I would have no problems with him being an S.
And Joe, did you say A or S?
Uh, I mean, it is a goblin, but I'd say it's kind of close to S for me too. It's got a lot of distinctive parts. All the accessories scream goblin.
That's
I'd
like
say it's an S.
the goblin lovers and the goblin side of this whole thing have like this kind of advantage because the dwarf lovers love the goblins that can also be dwarves.
Yeah.
So there's like a little edge there for the goblins in that regard.
And
This is the first body I thought of to use as an undead dwarf,
Yeah, that makes sense.
above all the other 1.0 goblin bodies out there, without a doubt.
Hey,
I love when you
Here I
pop
am.
up with that smile.
so here's interesting because you guys are all oh, not that interesting. It's about the same. So the highest ranker is A with 10 votes, and then B with 8 votes.
Oh,
C has 4 votes, and S has 2. And
Oh, so S still has
whoever
one.
voted G is getting kicked out next time.
Oh, I can't
Okay.
agree with
Messes
that.
me
Then
up.
in my head, I see it as the A spot as of now. And it has I mean, it was a range of other votes as well, but what do you say? Leave it at there at A.
Yeah, I think it's nice there. I personally, I think, this is one that I really like. I wish he lasted longer, and as far as availability goes, because I think he disappeared really quick. I love the paint job on the armor. I think it's phenomenal, and it makes a nice dwarf, or anything else you want to do with it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you there, Len. I remember inventory internally as far as this going to shows. This was a very popular seller. Um, it was one of the first to sell out.
All right, I think he's good at A. Let's move on.
Let's move on to the dwarf. Is it deluxe builder or the
Okay.
dwarf builder? Deluxe builder, yeah.
Huh.
So, oh, he looks very similar to Mr. Cave Dwarf here.
He does. I'll start.
So,
Just to get this out of the way, I'm going to say my piece real quick. He's D
Yeah.
tier for me. Great builder. He's fodder to me. I'm done.
that was very harsh.
That was kind of harsh. I feel kind of bad.
But you also feel like we need to move on. So what you guys?
I would say it's a C. I like it a bit more than the bronze dwarf. I would say the bronze dwarf is below this. I like that head a lot. The horns, just because it has a few more colors in there. You know.
Yeah, but it's that
looks
head
less
to me
bland.
is that head to me is barbarian.
I can understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. When this came, I mean, both the torso and the middle the waist piece were two pieces that are really popular when this piece when this figure came out. So it's like,
And
wow,
Right.
you can get more of that buck. So that but
and
it's
it's still out of the box. Is it still the only dwarf with those, right? Like if you're not into customizing or kit bashing or something like is this is the only one
Yeah,
right
I
now
believe
with
you're right.
those. So it's a way to add some variety to a shelf full of dwarves with all the same parts. So for
Right.
me,
Yeah.
like
It looks like he's got a little bit heavier of a body with that more bulkier torso. It looks more like a dwarf body to me than all the others, because you would
Yes.
imagine all the human knights, they're all wearing the same chest plate, and this guy, he just looks a little bit bigger, a little more robust. So this I just feel like is a better representation of a dwarf than the previous builders we had seen. It makes me want to knock down Cavern Dwarf and put him at B and move Cavern down to C.
Yeah, well, I would go with C or D for this one. I'm not sure which one.
I'm
I
definitely a C. I don't think it's D. I think
no.
Cavern Dwarf
I
could
think
be
we'll
bumped down.
eventually
Like
drop it
this
down
is
to C.
above Cavern to me, or not
Okay.
Cavern, above the Bronze Dwarf to me. So I'm tempted to say C, but I don't know. Like I think it. I mean, I'm tempted to say B to put it above
Oh,
the Bronze Dwarf, but maybe the Bronze Dwarf should just be down at D, kind of thing. That's my take
Yeah,
there.
Yeah,
I would agree with that. Moving
I would
down
support
bronze to
that.
C.
I would
I mean
support
D.
bronze to D.
I'll give you the votes for the audience. The highest was D with 8.
Wow.
Wow.
There was a tie between B and C with 4 for B and C and 1A.
okay.
So there wasn't as much feedback on this figure as there
No,
were on others,
but
the consensus seems
Still
to be
D.
D.
Yeah.
so it's definitely C or D, or I would probably say C then. Or what? It's
My
almost
personal
D.
feeling I don't like it as a standalone figure. I like it for a custom figure. I'm not a fan of the color of the armor. And that head to me, I think as someone else said, it's more barbarian than dwarf.
Mhm.
But it's a great base figure for custom, so it's hard for me
Oh,
to
yeah.
slam it all the way to D. But if Goblin's going to be D, I think he needs to be D too.
I I think we could leave him here, but remember that we probably might need to push him down, depending on.
I
So
would push down the bronze dwarf honestly to D, and leave him at C, because I like this one far better than bronze.
got it.
And we're gonna
Let's
need to put
let's
some stuff in D. That's it.
let's take that in a while, and now we're moving on to the next goblin. And okay, Nubnik, and I think I'm gonna start and give a suggestion for Nubnik,
Hmm.
and then you guys can say whatever you want, and just
Mm.
there is, I really, like I said, I got a lot of goblins at the beginning, and thought and thought I'm gonna love the goblins, and at that time I really didn't. But Nubnik, somehow there's something about him. He's just like extraordinary. He's using most of the same parts, but that head gives him so much character. So that's my suggestion. Put him in the S.
I'm on S tier with him. I
Awesome.
like I some of this is like I don't want to say nostalgia, but like it just has that feeling for me. This was the very first figure that I reviewed on my YouTube channel, so there's like that element to it. But the reason I had this figure back then, when I had very few Legions figures, was because to me, when I looked at all the goblins in the Kickstarter, this one to me just was like the coolest looking thing. It's like this. It's funny that he's like an assassin, but it's more like the look of it is like this battle goblin, right? This
Yeah.
battle goblin with the painted teeth, neck thing, and that awesome head with that expression. Like, yeah, this one to me, this is the quintessential Legion's goblin.
And I agree. I could see him in a war frenzy going into battle side by side with gonks. Even that's the kind of character I see here. Like, and just
Maybe riding something, riding a boar or
ooh,
something.
absolutely. So that loin piece together with that head,
Yeah.
I think that combination is what that's the key pieces for this one. On the other hand, those are the only two pieces that differs from the others. So maybe I'm saying the obvious.
Well, he
But
also comes with the unhelmeted head,
Mm-hmm.
so he comes with two heads. So you can kind of
yes,
have him as a builder and
yes.
also as a distinctive helmeted goblin. When I first saw this, I'm like, there's nothing I could think of that I would want differently done with this. I think it's perfect
Yep,
as
yep.
is. I've used a few for customs, but I mean, honestly, I think it's great. I'm also kind of hovering around S and A personally, because it's a goblin. I feel like it should be at A, but leave more room for dwarves up there in S. But no, really, I love Nubnik and want to be, yeah. I'll leave it at that. I love Nubnik.
Yeah.
Hello. So this one, I don't know how much this is going to help you guys, but because it's very spread out. So the highest is S with 7, and B tier has 6 votes, A tier has 3, and C tier has 2.
And what is your vote, Len and Steven?
I know Nubnik is a fan favorite, but he never really has done it for me. I gotta be truthful about this. I'd like to just cave and go with you guys and say S tier and make it all easy and everything, but that wouldn't be very alpha of me.
It wouldn't be alpha, but it would be like a family thing to do.
I like the figure. I do like it. And early on, he was fantastic. But as time has gone on, I think he kind of falls back. He kind of drops back in the race a little bit. He'd be B tier for me.
Okay, but we still have 3 votes at S. Len,
I
where did you
feel
put him?
like I agree with what Bill had said about the nostalgia factor. He's just like, and everything he said, it's a very classic Goblin. I have to go A. I don't know if he needs to be up in S because I think there's other things I like more. I would lean more towards A, but I don't argue it being an S tier.
Got it.
And if I didn't have that sentimentality with this figure, it probably, like if I try to think objectively without that included, it probably would be in an A.
Okay, let's put it down in A. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I like that for
That's
A.
where we have it. I still want, that's the one of everything I most wanted, I think, at S. But I hear what you guys are saying, and you're probably right. So, the dwarf 2-pack. I'm gonna go on a limb here and just any objections or
I mean,
any.
should we just put there and save time and move on? Because I highly doubt it's going to be anywhere else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's unfair.
Yeah,
Let everyone have 1 minute to vote if you want to take part of this. Otherwise, we'll just leave it. We don't have time for this.
It's S for me. It's beautiful. It's got 2
Yeah.
figures in it. What do you do? I don't know. Close the door.
4
It's S.
different heads. I mean, if you get an all in, technically there's like a 5th head in that wave that you can get and toss on that body or another one. That's a little bit of a stretch, but yeah, seeing these come together and fabric pants, not a fully armored dwarf. Like really, like this is. I think this is the first time we're getting kind of like a kind of a dressed down dwarf, but more of what I would imagine seeing in fantasy as opposed to all of them being fully decked out in armor, more like a knight. When I see this, I'm like, yeah, that's quintessential dwarves without a doubt. And there's so much detail compared to that's just the entire sculpt of everything in this is a step up from anything that's come before. So I think it'd be silly for it to be anything less than this.
It's an auto kill. This is a knockout. It's a win.
Yep.
Len, are there like 100 people saying nothing that it shouldn't be S? Otherwise, it's S. It is S. I mean, we don't even have to, no objections, Len.
I mean, of course there's objections, but the overall, I didn't get a chance actually to write them all down, but it looks like mostly S's. There's a couple of B's, mostly S's. People that I respect are voting S, so I'm going to keep it at an S.
I respect.
The Goblin guy says D.
Yeah.
So what did, if they're people that you respect, what did Billy Beige vote for?
I don't even know because he's writing pure gibberish. Here, let me show you what Billy, this is what I'm reading. I mean, so I guess he's going S plus. So like, I don't know. Do you do that S? If the comments don't say like a single letter or the name and letter, I'm just grazing over it.
Yeah,
Here,
you're doing
here's
a great
here's
job.
an example of someone that I don't appreciate this because you have to take that with a grain of salt with this
D.
guy Marcos here with his D.
Yes, D is for dwarf. Yes.
Yes.
Moving on.
I'm telling you guys that the paint job alone in this belt is better than some of the the amount of paintwork that goes into some of the heads that are on the lower tier figures here. You're just saying less than S because you haven't seen it up close or looked hard enough.
only you have. Golden, no, Helmer,
Halmir.
Helmer
Helmer.
Golden Tooth.
Yep. S
Yeah,
tier all the way.
Let me share mine, and I'm gonna take a 5-minute break because my family just got home, and I'm gonna relocate.
Awesome.
I'm gonna say A. I actually don't have this figure, but just based on what I've seen of it, I'm gonna say it's at least an A for me for Halmir, and I'll be right back.
Yep. I'm not gonna argue with A.
I love him.
All right.
He's great. The color scheme, the reuse of that head. I feel like the paint job on this head is better than what it was originally used on. Um, he's
Wait a
just
minute.
totally a badass.
This head is only used on Helmer, right?
No, this is the same exact head that's used on
No.
Ironjaw.
Oh.
It's the same sculpt.
Oh, but cooler.
I think so. Yeah.
Got it.
So your thoughts are what, Joe? A?
I'd
Elite?
have this hanging today. Solid. Yes.
Okay. We go. Bill said A. Emil, did you check in
Yeah,
yet?
I'm going with A as well.
All right. So I said A. I said S. You guys said A. What does Lenny say?
Hello.
It says hello.
Talk amongst yourselves for 2 seconds, and I will give you a number. Hold on.
Ah. We'll talk amongst
It's
ourselves.
also another dwarf that uses it has those aggressive feet, more like what you would expect to
Oh,
see on an
that's right.
orc or a barbarian. It's not dwarf feet,
I
which
don't
makes
think I
me
even
think
knew
this
that.
guy's like way more and he's from the one of the best waves,
Mm,
the
he
the
is.
Coliseum wave. Where, like
Yep.
every body in that wave is an
That's a
absolute
great
killer.
wave.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
love it.
So it's an S tier because it is 7 for S, and then it's a tie for between B and A with only 2, and D is 1. So not a lot of votes going on for this guy for some reason.
No.
Maybe people just don't have him yet, right?
Makes
Maybe
sense.
that's the case. I don't have
Yeah.
him, and I know Bill
I don't
said the
have him.
same. So
What is
he's
your
a
what
little.
is your opinion, Len?
I don't have him, so again, it gets a strike because I don't have it to play with. But I love his look. It's classic dwarf Legion to me. It's got to be an A.
Leaving him at A and moving on to Mephitor.
C. I like him for C. His colors don't really go with a lot of things. I see a skunk. Like I love the sculpt, because it's a homage figure. Like it doesn't really fit into Mythic for me. I have one of him as is, and another one with the headless horseman pumpkin head on it.
Yeah.
Just make him look like a little creepy Halloween dude. But
Okay, so
yeah,
yeah.
he's kind of low there for me.
All right. My opinion is, look, I mean, everybody knows Masters of the Universe is close to my heart, but I these figures when they always end up close to the bottom for me in these tier things. Even though I have a specific shelf that is all the Motu inspired figures, and they look great, and it's an awesome shelf. For me, somebody's got to go to the D tier,
Yeah.
and this one would go there for me.
I think I have to move him to D as well. But I love the extreme color, but I see more of, Cosmic Legions colors than I see Mythic Legions. So it's no. I love black, orange, but I'm going D as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's more
Yeah.
Space Goblin than Mythic
Yes,
Goblin.
I
it
mean,
would be a really cool space goblin.
it's always a hard thing. I mean, you put them in D, it's like you're saying you can be interpreted that you don't like it. Well, no one's taken that figure from me because I want it. I love that figure.
Yeah.
But in this lineup, he goes to D.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but looking at the figures down, we're really so. Yeah, we have to spread them out. That's the thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know someone. I wouldn't say complain, but they asked why can't we put everything exactly where we want them. But that takes away the challenge somehow, I think, because I think this is try
Yes,
to
it
even it out.
does. Yes,
I would have a
absolutely.
lot. I think I would have put a lot more figures up at S if I didn't have to limit
Well,
the
no,
spaces.
no story is good without a villain, and in this story, the villain is the fact that we can only have so many spaces, or
I
else we
thought you
could
were gonna
we'd be
say that.
putting them all up in A and S.
I thought you were
So-
gonna say that I was the villain, but I like what you said more.
So
Len.
we're kind of torn on this one with the
Oh.
votes. D and C have a tie with 7 each. So that's 7D, 7C, 5B, 2A, and 1S.
Oh, it's a spread here, but then we have 3 votes more for the D, so we're up at 10 at D. What do you say, Len? What do you vote?
I think he's a cute little guy. I like him. He's kind of replaced the most available type of 2.0 small little figure for me. I would put him at A, but I mean, I would put him at higher than D, but I understand what you guys are saying as far as someone's got to be a D. But
Yeah,
I personally would have him a little higher than that.
we're gonna hear what you say, Bill, but it could also be that we move him up to the C tier to even out, since we have votes across the spectrum here. Where do you want him, Bill?
Yeah, that's a tricky one because it's a very like unique. It's like a very specific look, right? I will say that having a black goblin head is pretty damn sweet. So I don't think I would put it in D, but yeah, I mean, I'm C. I'm gonna go C.
So compared to the vote, or I mean, when we wave in the votes from the chat and from us, it's C then. And let's move on to the only, as far as I know, spell casting dwarf,
Rune Shaper.
Thank you, Joran Rune Shaper. Oh.
Well, I like this guy.
It's actually a cool idea to have a magic wielding dwarf.
And he just got cooler, in my opinion, with the Poxis weapons and spellcasting parts.
Yep.
So he's gotten a recent really cool upgrade, and I've played with him that way already. I've got mine set up a little differently than he has been for years, and I'm really liking him.
I wonder what the chat will say, because this is one of the characters that I think many don't. I don't have him, So
I don't either.
So that would probably make him slightly lower than what he probably deserves, because I haven't heard many who has it who doesn't like it. I mean, who doesn't. Wow, Joran is so special. That blue shiny armor.
I think he's always been a standout on my shelves. And even with all the new crazy stuff that's coming out, I think he remains a standout on my shelf. And I get that, there's a lot of people that probably don't have him in their collection, but as someone who does, I think he belongs right at the top, A or S for me.
Mm-hmm. Joe?
Believe it or not, I'm maybe closer to B on this one. Because, I mean, I love the head. I like the color scheme. I think it's great. But when I think, like, Wizard Dwarf, my mind doesn't immediately go to fully armored Wizard Dwarf. And I realized that when it came out, that's all the parts that were available for it. But since I've owned it, I've had 3 different torsos on this guy. I had painted up like some soft goods. I went green with it, and then most recently I have the second Headless Horseman purple tabard on this guy, the leather goods, and I kind of want to switch out the sleeves. So the fact that I want to change it up so much, even though I really like the color scheme, it kind of knocks it down for me. So I would keep this guy at B. because and it's really the kind of character, and I'm not saying this isn't a leak. This is the kind of character I'd rather see get a 2.0, and I think I'd appreciate a slightly different modified version of this than this guy here compared to other things that are coming up.
Okay. Bill?
Again, one I don't have. I would put it kind of highish because it's one I really, really want, especially now with this current wave that's out. But yeah, I mean, I would probably say A. I know A is getting crowded, but
Yeah.
just from an outsider looking in and wanting this thing, I would probably put it in the A.
If we put it in A, just so we know, then we've filled that row. So
Something will come down.
yeah,
We would fill the row,
absolutely.
but it still doesn't mean we can't move stuff.
Yeah, other stuff
Yeah.
could come down.
Yeah, I heard your passive aggressive tone there, Stephen. That it doesn't mean we can still put him there, right? I'm sorry. I'm fine with that. I really don't know where to put them. I don't have a clear vote. So A or B would be for me. Not S, but A or B. Yeah. So Len, welcome in.
Hey, this is a big one. There's a lot of votes here. I would have agreed with you, Emil, that there wouldn't be because I thought it was something not a lot of people have. Everyone loves him. Everyone loves Jordan RuneShaper. He's got 15 S votes, 7 A's, and 1 B. Everyone loves a flashy dwarf.
Wow. And Stephen has an S as well, so we're up to
Put him in
16
S.
votes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
there's
love him
nothing to
too.
talk
I would
about
give him
there.
an S. I don't have him. I had him. Most regretted trade I've ever had because I got rid of him. Wish I didn't. I love that little guy.
So that's the most voted for character today. Moving
And
on.
I want to say something real quick. I know we're trying to get through this, but to Joe's point about him, armored wizards, not cool. I think that it is cool that we have an armored wizard. I think, I don't want all my wizards armored, but to have one armored dwarf wizard, badass.
And I bet dwarf magic is, they can handle armor. So, are you guys still okay? I don't know, we're 1.5 hours in. If we fix this you're good, both of you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I just relocated from the dork
Yeah.
kitchen to the Dorklair, so I'm like ready to roll here.
Awesome, because there is one way to would you speed it up, but I find it very interesting to hear your guys opinions of the figures as well. So if people get tired, they can just pause it and come back later, right? So it's just so going to Knoglin. No glean.
One of the few figures named after one of Eric's sons, Nolan.
That's right.
Oh yeah, that's right.
and
Yeah,
that's
I love the
also-
mischievous look of his face. He's got that grin. This like you look at him, you're like, this guy's up to trouble. And the color scheme on the armor, it's pretty dang good.
Yeah, it is.
I think this is one of the figures that if I would have gotten it today instead of when I got it, I probably wouldn't have sold it, It would have stayed on the shelf because he is a goblin king. If you don't see that picture of big, super fat goblin lord king, then this is the king.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's not like the biggest goblin leads them. The most the creepiest, most devious goblin leads them, and that definitely looks like him.
So commit, Joe. What are you thinking?
There's so many more that I like more than this. I'd say he's a solid B.
Ooh, Bill, how do you
Really,
feel?
it's the head that makes him distinctive, and he's got that cool multicolored cape too. I forgot about that, but I would have him around B.
To become the king of the goblins, one must assassinate the previous king. Thus, only the most foolish seek positions of leadership, which is a quote from the Magic the Gathering card, Goblin King.
Goblin king.
So,
All
like,
goblins get +1/+1 and mountain
which is
walk.
which is to me like again this idea of a Goblin King is it just hits home sentimentally.
badass.
So it's awesome. I probably would probably try to push it up to the A, but it's just so crowded at this point. I mean, I could even potentially be up in the S tier with it.
Mhm.
It's just
Wow.
I do love this character so much, but the figure itself, I mean, aside from that head, it is, it is roughly the same goblin as all the others. But the color, and now that people are starting to throw, I haven't done this yet, but people have been starting to throw the Arazak piece on the goblin on Noglin. It looks really cool on that body. Maybe
Yeah.
not necessarily that head, but that body for sure. It's kind of also it's got that like upgrade now potentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I to me it's an A, but like again, I understand like not everything can be in the A range.
Yeah. To me, it's a travesty that if he ends up in B underneath like Nubnik. I mean, I think that when you look at him compared to that and a Legion Builder Goblin, I mean, I think he's head and shoulders above it, in my opinion. But I realize this is a democracy, which means nothing's going to get done right here. So
I don't want him to be higher than the Legion Builder.
Hey,
I'm okay with that. I
Everyone
would
ready?
be totally fine with him in the S. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
ready.
don't
Yeah,
want him to
that's
be
a big
higher
one.
than.
this is a big one. You ready?
Okay.
This is huge.
All right.
Everyone seems to want to agree with myself, and that is S. 16 S's,
Mm,
What?
2 A's, and that's it.
And that's it. Okay,
That's
then Bill, congratulations.
Everyone
You got it.
agrees with the man.
I
in
guess
the
it makes
Dorklair.
sense that the kings of both faction or type would be at the top.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
And that's like to me, I know they're actually in the same faction. They're both Arethyr
Yeah.
characters. But like to me, like in my head canon, those two are mortal enemies, and that's like these two armies that are just at each other.
It's almost like just because of Arethyr and Gorgo, they are not fighting.
Right.
You
yeah.
know,
Right.
these two would definitely be killing each other if it wasn't for Gorgo. So it's-
It seems counterproductive that you have so many people on your team that want to, go against each other. But I guess when you're at war, you want constant conflict. So it does actually make sense that they would be on the same side because they never
and-
want to let the other one live.
And goblins are all about chaos.
yeah.
Indeed. Indeed.
I just want to point out that as it stands, our S tier has 3 goblin or dwarf choices versus only 1 goblin at the moment.
Yep, that's right.
That could change.
That could change.
And I would also
So-
like to point out that one of the dwarf choices is actually cheating because it's 2 figures. So I don't know if that's fair, but
Yeah. It's not about fair, but they're competing to goblins. Goblins are never fair. Or in
Well,
Steelhide.
This is on the same level for me in some ways as Joran's Runeshaper because this is one I've always wanted and I don't have. And it kind of pushes it up. I know it's really just about the colorway on this one because there's not a lot of uniqueness here, but the colors are really cool.
You know, Bill, I could even go the opposite route here. I could put him down to C. But I don't know, but there's something it doesn't trigger anything within me, like so I would say C.
Others.
Steven, you look upset.
well, I mean, I was here at the beginning. You guys haven't seen what I've seen. You know, you guys haven't been here. You don't know my pain. This guy was
You're fine.
awesome when he first came out, and I still think he's awesome. And he I don't know. I think there's a sentimental thing. I think for once the alpha has a little feelings going on with this one, and I like to try to make decisions without feeling. I like to try to keep it, logical. But I think I have an attachment here on this little guy, and I maybe that's influencing me. So I think he's an A or an S myself, but I don't know.
But on the other hand, you know that you should not go the sentimental route. That's not you. Don't walk this path. Instead, put him down to C. Like a man.
C? No, I think B could be the most I could probably handle.
Yeah, I'm good with B. It's just like there aren't a lot of head to toe green Mythic Legions like this. Like it's again for me. It's all about that paint job, and it's there's also that like I really want this figure part of it. So yeah, I mean, but if I'm trying to be, like Steve said, like just trying to be just pure objective, it probably shouldn't be more. It shouldn't be higher than a B, really.
And Joe, did you say, or are you thinking, pondering?
I've been thinking about it. When I first saw this in the Kickstarter, and afterwards, I wasn't all that really excited for it. I didn't pick it up until I physically saw one in front of me, and I was like, that it's cool enough to get one, and I've only ever owned one. I ended up using the other head and tossing it onto another custom because it's got the bearded version. The color scheme, I like it a lot. I've used it on multiple other things I've put together. The character is cool, that it's a type of dwarf that doesn't live in a cave or in the mountains, but they live in the trees. So I thought that was a neat aspect to the character, and that's why the green armor being up in the treetops, it makes perfect sense for the character. But that being said, I have so many multiples of other dwarves and only one of this guy, because I'm like, one is good enough. So he doesn't read all that high to me. I'd say he's about a B or a C.
B or C, yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm happy to agree. So Len, welcome.
Hello. All right. This one's all kind of all over the place. A lot of mixed feelings on this guy. The highest one is C with 7. B tier has 5 votes. S tier has 3 votes, and D tier has 1 vote. So, I mean, based on that, unless you guys voted him a little higher than C, the B seems to make sense, or it could be a C.
It does make
personally,
sense.
my vote, I love him. I think he's great. He was in the comic. I don't care if Gerard said it's not canon anymore. I love the comic. He's like a main character to me, and I owned him. He was like the first kind of harder character to get that I ever got, and I love the colors, but that's just me.
B it is. Everyone's happy, and we're moving on to the next goblin, and that would be a quite popular character, I think.
Yeah.
Snag. He's probably the goblin that I regret most selling.
I just got him.
You just got him? Yeah.
I traded for him. I traded a Hot Toys figure for him.
Wow.
It was an army builder that wasn't wasn't worth like hundreds. It was probably worth like 150 or something. But still a substantial payout for this guy, which, I don't know, just there was something about the black arms that originally didn't do it for me. And it just got to the point where you know what, I got this hot toy that nobody's going to really want to buy. So let me see if I can just trade it. And what could I get for it? So I was like, let me get a Snag. I've been trying to build out my goblins lately and really try to complete it and build out a little army and stuff. And then getting it in hand, it's awesome. I mean, it's all about the head sculpt on this one. It's so good.
It is.
Yeah, I this is my favorite goblin. So has been since he came out. He's number one for me. I love him. I just think it's so cool how, Eric he makes this goblin kind of facial structure this kind of football Stewie Griffin
Mhm.
kind of head ish sometimes. But look at the variation here. And now you've got
Yep.
this long nose. You know, it's like the facial structure is completely different, but he's still a
Mhm.
goblin, and it works, which opens up a door for almost anything. You can do a lot with goblins, and I don't know, that classic. I just love this thing. He's S tier for me.
Yep.
Yeah, I would say he's solidly up there. That is almost
Yes,
exactly
sir.
what I would imagine a goblin to be. The most goblin of the goblins, I believe, is him.
And I love his story. Little thief.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
I
he's not like
am.
fully armored up. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, continue.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't look like he's like a knight. He's dressed down. He's got the fabric cap. He has the leather gloves. Even the torso piece is painted brown. I believe that's leather. A lot of these other guys, they're all wearing, yeah, they're all wearing armor, metal. I see him, and I see him just like a sneaky little scumbag. Uh, so
Um,
yeah, I just think he's great. I think is the best looking goblin so far.
I've resisted popping and swapping my snag so far. I've only had it for a month or so, but like I'm very tempted to pop green arms, like the female orc arms on there,
Ooh.
or when you know down the road when Rising Suns comes out, the cloth arms on there would be really cool too.
Yeah. Yeah. He's the second best goblin, I think, after Nubnik.
That's
He's really, really cool.
I think I'm
Um,
there. I think I'm about there. There's one more goblin that's like right in that range that we haven't put up yet, but I'm kind of there right now.
Got it. So,
Hey,
are we
guys,
ready for
apparently
Len?
S is for snag, S is for his tier, S is for a little scumbag. He gets 19 votes at the S level. He's getting 1B and 1A. So this is a runaway. I
Yeah,
think this is our first tier runaway too to this
people
point
Yeah,
love
in the
I
whole
snag.
time we've been playing
So
this game.
he's not falling down from that position. Of course, he's not. 19 votes, and then we have our votes added to that. Awesome.
So do we have any more room, Emil? In
We
S
have
and
one
A?
place more. 3 of these tiers will have 6 spots,
Okay.
and 2 of them will have 5 spots.
Okay.
So there is a potential one more spot here
Okay.
until we have to rearrange. Now we're moving on to the dwarf Ragna Stormforger. I'm gonna go on a limb here and just drop her there for now at the D tier. Please argue me on this point.
No argument here. I'll be real quick. I have this figure. I've never even opened it. She might be my least favorite Mythic Legion figure ever made. So, yeah, D for me.
I like the figure. I like the armor and the paint, but I don't necessarily like it as a dwarf. Like especially now that we're starting to see 1.0 female parts and stuff. So when we say like, is it one of the best dwarves and dwarves versus like, I I think this has some great value in it as a kit bashing piece, but like that as a dwarf, no. So I'm
It's
fine
a
with D.
gnome. It's a gnome. I know. Joe, do you want to argue this, or shall we let Len summarize?
I'd say she's about a C, and it's rough for me because the color scheme on her is very similar to my very first custom that I had painted up as a dwarf. But also I look at this character and I don't see dwarf female when I look at this character. Not even
No.
the other helmet. It just doesn't read that way to me, knowing that, the other dwarf woman that's coming. Like to me that's where it's at. So yeah, unfortunately I'd have to say that
I mean,
she's on the D side there.
the other dwarf woman that's coming is awesome. She's stout, she's strong, she looks like she could pull a plow. The the Ragna looks like she couldn't push
Those eyes.
a little. She doesn't. She looks like she couldn't push a cart full of hay. So
Right?
I don't think she's really helping.
Oh yeah,
Well, I mean, that's where it's at.
But I mean, when it comes to Ragnar, not even Eric himself sound very proud when he talks about Ragnar.
Yeah.
I
It's
will
like-
say, story-wise, her importance grew
Yes.
because of what's the sister's name? Dagna?
Yeah, Dagnar.
Is it
Yeah.
Dagna? Yeah. So that there's that little aspect of it. So lore-wise, she's kind of a little more important now too. But yeah, D
I'd say-
all the way.
Yeah.
All right.
Character story, great. Design, yeah.
Len, do you want to argue this in the
Hey.
chat?
Well, apparently
Hey.
Ragna fell down the D tree and got hit by every D on the way down to the floor because she got
God.
hit with 11 D cast votes for
It's a
that.
family
tier.
show.
Sorry, Ragnar.
4 C's and 1 A.
Oh my
She-
god. Oh, she's so far down she can.
Just getting
Well,
slapped with
she
those.
looks more like a goblin.
Okay,
If
so
you, like,
just-
really, she looks more like a goblin than a
oh,
dwarf.
she's a goblin with makeup.
Yeah, I
Okay.
agree. Like it's like a
You know?
cleaned up armor goblin.
Now it-
maybe that's like where the goblins get their armor. It's like from the Ragnar. the Ragnar.
So we're gonna go to this next builder. The dwarf is called. What's this dwarf called?
Silver.
The silver
Yeah.
dwarf.
D.
Okay. I'm honestly I'm just gonna say D. Not much more to say about it compared to everything else. What do you? Any further?
I agree with you, Emil.
Yeah,
Same.
there's not too much going on with him. I don't like those obnoxiously large horns on the helmet. I feel like you could just like run up to him and like grab the horns and just snap his neck and move on to the next guy.
It's not. It's kind of feel like these are how the dwarves are looking at Ragnar's hometown. They're like they don't have the coolest designs. Like, yeah, sure. No, I'm sorry.
Her pauldrons would look really good on him. That's for sure. Yeah, I hate to say that. I think he's down there.
Yeah.
Great for parts, especially in the early days. But yeah,
Yep,
he's
absolutely.
down there.
Yeah, you toss a couple more colors into the accent. You make the chainmail a different color, a different loin piece. I couldn't understand how like it looks like leather flaps there on the loin armor, but it's painted silver. I never got one of these and didn't want to paint it up immediately. So yeah, I'd say it's a D for sure.
So, Legions Len, you wanna join us?
Hey, it looks like the chat wants to grab
keep
this
thinking that's
dwarf
so
by the
funny every time
horns
you pop
and
up.
drive him straight to level D because he's getting 13 votes for D, 2 C's, and 1 B.
Wow.
Excuse me.
Sorry, bud.
So, like we said, we like these characters. Okay, anyway, moving on. Thank you. And Swig. I'm dropping it at B just to hear your thoughts. This is this the most recent goblin? It is, right? We haven't gotten any goblins after Swig.
No, I don't think so.
This is the most recent goblin, yeah.
Mhm.
I know a lot of people like this, but I'm not the biggest fan of 1.0 pauldrons and hands on the goblin.
Yeah, I agree
And
with you there.
and like one of the things I'm going to be doing as soon as I get to my hands pack is like swapping out his hands. And I may eventually swap out the pauldrons. I do still have them on the shelf with the pauldrons on there, but there's something about it that just, you know, it's kind of the Ragna thing, right? Like it just, I don't know, it just seems a little odd. I think what I need is like a purple cape around the top, like a cloak of some sort to like kind of finish it off. There's just something a little disjointed about this figure. I like it. Like, I think it's a great one. I think there's a lot of really cool details, especially the fact that it comes with that little potion right there. Like, that's one of my favorite parts. But I don't know, maybe like C.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Bill on this. Yeah, I think I'm with Bill on this.
And I am as well, because I don't like the 2.0 pauldrons on 1.0 figures, and I tend to not like the 1.0 pauldrons on 2.0 figures. It sets something off for me. Maybe, like you said, put a cape on it, make everything flow together somehow. I don't know. It's still cool, but I agree. C for me.
Yeah, I had this kind of closer to a B because I feel like you can do I mean, you can do a lot with it now. I agree with a lot of you. I would switch out the hands to a smaller set. Um, I mean, the reasoning for me, I think it looks good with the larger hands sometimes, is if you think about it, he's making all these potions and elixirs, he's an alchemist, so maybe touching all these chemicals have had a reaction on his hands, and that's why they're bigger than all the other goblins. So story-wise, it makes sense to me. I also took off the pauldrons because I don't think it looks right, but I took his skirt and I put it up around his shoulders once I got rid of those pauldrons, so I kind of made it into like a little hood and cape situation. It's all the parts are there to do it within the one. Um, but yeah, I don't think it should be higher than B because out of the package, I want to mess with it. But the character wise, I might have named this one. I'm not sure. I remember being in the studio and hearing Eric and Jeremy trying to figure out what to call this thing. They had the story, they couldn't figure out a name, and I think I just yelled out like from the room, just eavesdropping as I always do, like just swag. And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Swag. He makes potions. You swig them." And they're like, "Oh, well, then okay, we'll add it to the list." So
Well, it's a perfect name. So
Yeah.
nice job, because it not only does it like fit the specific character, but it fits within the goblin naming.
right,
You
right.
know,
Yes.
So like it needs to have two letters. It can be two W's or two G's, whatever.
Yeah.
And just because I want to say something really nice about it is I do think the head is really cool.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
And when I see it on the tier list here, I rather put them among the other B characters than down to the C characters.
Well, like we've said before, when it comes to goblins, it's really one of those character types that you can do so many things with because you expect like, oh, what's your quintessential things? Pointy ears, green skin, and like from there, and creepy. I think creepy is good. If you hit all the three of those, you could do whatever, and there's so many distinctive looks. Um, he almost doesn't have a nose compared to the rest of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say he's a pretty good B there.
Len.
Yes. Despite the fact that I think Van and Jordan made multiple accounts to sway this vote for Purple
It's the
Gang
purple,
Gang
is it?
voting, it seems a little balanced with the highest votes being 10 at level A. Tier B has 7. D has 2 and S has 2. So the highest of them was A with 10, and then B
And how
with
many at
7.
B?
So it's really up to what you four have discussed. I think places him between A and B.
Okay,
I'd say
and
he's a B.
Yeah, then it's B because we have all four of us. None of us wanted him up at A. Rather C and D, B. So, but that's a close one then, A or B. So
Yeah.
put him at B.
Yeah, my
And
personal
moving on.
I'm
opinion
good with
is very close to what everyone said, and he's like accessories away from being a very higher level. When I got the Poxus Wave accessory set and the handset pack, he immediately went up way. He definitely he should have a cape with that hood on, especially. That would also make him like almost S tier for me. But adding like the accessories of the potions on his belt and the magic effects and things, it really made him a lot better, in my
In
opinion.
the studio, knowing what was coming down the line, knowing that we couldn't put those extra accessories with Swig, it kind of hurt, and we were even talking about we call it fast tracking when we want to use parts that haven't been tooled yet a little bit sooner for an upcoming project, just to make them more of a priority in the process in which things are made. That was something that came up for Swig, but we didn't want to push anything back because I think All Stars 5 was released before another wave that was priority was coming out. So like we
Right.
didn't want to push that back even more, knowing that people would have access to those parts. Yeah, I'm with you there, Len. Now that those things are available, it's awesome, but as is, it's lacking.
Yeah, I mean, and going on what you said, Joe, I believe, I mean, All Stars 5 was the fastest to production, right? Like that wave seemed to just go from pre-order to production very quickly. You
Because
know,
all the parts in that wave were already tooled, even though the public hadn't seen a lot of those pieces. Um, the parts already existed. It really came down to paint. Fit for any parts were a non-issue, and really that's one of the things that holds up um, any of the production. If there's a color that's not quite there, we can let that slide a lot easier than a piece like if you have a head sitting too high or too low, or you have parts that have a very loose fit and that they fall apart easy. That's the kind of stuff we look out for. All the parts for All Stars 5 were dialed in, no problem. It came down to paint, and that's why I was able to jump the line, and it came out pretty good.
yeah, it definitely did.
All right, next.
Awesome. Next, we have the only skeleton, but he is a skeleton dwarf. So that's why we included him here.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Are you trying to make us vote him high?
I would.
I want him high.
Hmm.
How
Listen,
high?
this guy does not disappoint. He checks a lot of boxes. One, he's a dwarf, so done. Um, two, he's undead. He's a skeleton. I know a lot of the fans love the skeletons. There's a lot of awesome parts going on here. It's the first time that you get the right pauldron of the skull, so he
Yep.
has them
From
both.
the
That's
Gladiator.
great. Yeah,
Mm.
the sculpt of his head. Yeah, okay, I get it. It's a skeleton with a beard. It makes no sense. It's people. It's a skeleton. It's gonna kick your ass. That doesn't make any sense either. I love the colors on this. I think he's awesome. I would put him at S without a doubt.
Mm.
But also, I have him in front of me. I would understand if you guys don't understand. Oh yeah, and that additional head that can be used, like you put this on a barbarian or a dwarf. Like the use of this guy right off the bat, it's awesome. Um, I'd say he's an easy, likable character, and even like an army builder. You put different helmets on here. Any helmet that doesn't show a face is good to build with.
Mm.
Yeah, I say he's an S without a doubt.
I am a fan of the skeletons. And I'm a fan of a lot of these, what's going on with this character. So I wouldn't mind at all to put him up at S or A. Up high.
I tend to just sort of, a lot of the newer stuff is always so much more intricate. They can do a lot more. And it just ends up just kind of put like the newer stuff always ends up being higher up in terms of quality, in my opinion. So yeah, I would totally be good with this up in the S as well. Unique, like there's nothing like it, like it's very unique.
And I've already done it here. If you want to bring that guy to life, it already comes with a head that you can consider living, and then you're switching out the hands
Right.
and the arms and the feet and the legs. Like all that stuff is there. It's going to be a very easy to work with and like likable character to swap around. So great as is, and really awesome for what it could be right off the bat. Yeah,
So
solid
so
S.
that so that's advice for people to grab. What figure right now has the bare arms and the bare legs right now? The gladiator, maybe, or maybe
Barbarian?
the barbarian. Yeah, the
Barbarian.
barbarian.
Yeah.
Yeah, the barbarian.
hmm
That could be a grab now and
Mhm.
save some arms and legs for down the road.
And I want to say the shin armor and the wrist armor, they complement the cavern dwarf really well. I'm not going to bother holding it up to the camera because it doesn't look all that great, but it really bumps up the look of the cavern dwarf. Like really, if you were to bring that character, the dead dwarf alive with cavern dwarf parts, it's amazing.
Mm.
It's so good.
Ah,
Yeah.
Uh,
Wah,
was
wah.
that Bill? Who said that?
Curtis,
Oh, okay.
Mr. Action Man.
that should have been a
Let's.
super
I'd like
chat.
to hear what the chat is saying because it's really hard when I don't have the figure in hand.
Hey, did someone ask for
Barely
some
fit.
chat?
Yeah.
Surprisingly, not a lot of activity on this. I don't know why.
Because
Like
no one has
really,
it.
really low. There were 7 in the S tier, 1 in the A tier, and 1 in the C tier, and that's all the voting that was done.
Then we're moving on
Okay.
to
That fills our S as it is now, right?
now the S is filled, so we have to rearrange as soon as we want to put someone else there.
I don't
Okay.
personally. I
Ooh.
don't think anything else necessarily is going to make it for me, but
Oh,
maybe for others.
We shall
that's fighting
see.
words.
Now we have Thistletorn.
In the
Thistletorn.
name of Jesse Arnold, S.
That's the hardest word. That's the most what in Sweden. What we practice the most when we're learning English is the the th. You know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm just trying to impress you guys. Not doing a good job.
So say it.
Thistletorn.
Nice.
That's great.
What
My
we
sister would have said a thistlethorn.
what we practice in America when we're learning Sweden is to turn all the W's to V's. Swedish.
We're the most German Swede in the
Swedish
US.
meatballs.
My wife got me some Swedish fish. It was like a fancy bag, and it was like from Sweden, and I was like, oh my god, these are gonna be the crazy salty Swedish fish. And they weren't. They were like so delicious. They were just regular they were sour Swedish fish. They were amazing.
Oh
So
no,
I-
we don't like the sour ones.
yeah, yeah. And I was like, these are not. And I was like, these are from Sweden because these don't sound like the ones that. And I forget what I had. You gave me something. I think it was like a little
Salty
round.
licorice.
Yeah,
the Jungle
licorice.
Wars.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
these Swedish fish, even though it said it was from Sweden, they were not what I expected. But in the best way because they were delicious.
That's awesome.
Oh,
So-
Thistlehorn.
He's awesome.
I
I
love
really
the color
think-
scheme on him. I've never seen a goblin like that, and yet it looks like something you would see out of like the Dark Crystal or like Jim Henson's studio. Like I see that and I immediately think it could be like one of those puppets, so it has like a nostalgic kind of look to it. I just think he's great.
I used to not think anything special about him at all, but I've so really changed my mind through the years. Like he is so unique. I'm also there. I like him a lot. I don't have him, but I like him.
So this is hard for me because we've only got a couple of A and S. We've only got one S tier available and one A tier available at the time.
We have no S tiers at the moment. We have
Oh,
one
that's right.
A
I'm
tier
sorry. So if I give him the A
and one
tier,
B.
that fills up the A tier, and there's some couple of good ones coming down there below. So I don't know, man. Just off the bat, I think he's a B or an A. I don't know
Yeah.
if he's S for me. What do you guys think?
I think I would go with B.
I'm kind of in the A range on this. One cool
Yeah.
thing I love about this character, and it's like to me this is, I know it's technically a goblin, but it's kind of like not really a goblin. To me,
Yeah.
this is if Faunus is Groot then this is Rocket. Like he's got the
Yeah.
giant sword. He comes with like the biggest sword ever, and it's the smallest little guy. You know, it's like it just feels like this is Rocket to the finest Groot, and like that to me is what makes this particular one like a lot of fun. But I mean that face, and it's funny because we've had this face on the list with Mephitor, but just with this the original and with this paint and just much more natural kind of look to it or something that they could just it's a very cool figure. And to me it's not quite a goblin. Like in my collection it's not a goblin.
Yeah, I'll back you up there. I feel like it's more of an A because I like it way more than two of the other characters that are an A. And it does, if it's not a goblin, then it's its own like kind of creation within this mythology, which I think is
Yeah.
even cooler because, it just it's kind of a new thing onto itself. So it sticks out even more.
All right.
Maybe.
All right.
Okay.
So for Thistlethorn, we have 9 in the S tier, 5 in C, 6 in A, and 1 D. So
Okay, then I would say A is pretty good in my head.
oh,
you know?
definitely.
Okay.
Are we okay? Moving on with that.
We're good.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the name of this dwarven character.
Thord Ironjaw.
Oh, of course, this is Thord. Thord Ironjaw. Here we have another king, basically. Kind of. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I think he's brother of Bromden.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
here we have when the dwarves
So maybe he
divided
was
them.
next in line. Or just booted out
Exactly.
because he didn't want to play ball with Arethyr.
Noble
So,
Bear faction, my favorite faction.
Yeah.
Good friend of Atlas's. Pretty cool.
pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I would say this is another good representation of like a quintessential dwarf. Even though it's fully armored, he's definitely heroic looking. I love all the colors, the armor, all the extra little accents here and there. He's awesome. I don't know a lot of people who have him, but I know a lot of people who wouldn't get rid of him if they did. Yeah,
Um,
he's kind of high up there for me.
So it's
Our
just the
high
horns
ups.
that you don't like.
The big horns always bother me, but other than that, I love everything else about him.
It's that center of gravity thing with dwarfs.
Perhaps.
That's where they are. They're low. The horns throw it off.
Yeah.
This like we were talking about both our Shadowhorn and like how that's like the warrior. This is like the general or like the commander. And visually, like not necessarily story wise, but like visually, like that's kind of it's like this another classic looking dwarf, but this one's a little more ornate, a little more commander like.
Yeah.
I do think I missed the cape for him to really do that.
Yeah.
With the cape, I think that would change everything. What I feel
What
for the
color?
man, because as of now, I don't feel anything. I feel like dead inside. I mean,
Wow.
Wait,
Jeez.
where are we going with this?
I don't feel dead inside, but I mean, I don't. He doesn't do anything for me, But maybe it's because I know so little about him, and I mean, the figure. I haven't played around with it, and it's. I don't know. I don't need him high on this list. I could go to C,
Hey, can I give the audience response
Yes, please.
Yeah.
We have 9 votes for S, 8 votes for B, 3 votes for C, 2 Ds, and 2 As. So I would say that this one needs to be somewhere, unless you guys horribly voted it the opposite direction, it has to be, I would say this has to be like an A. Or actually it almost splits because it goes from S to B and very little A's. So
Yeah.
So
maybe
you
D.
say that B would be okay with that
No, I
math?
think-
I kind of think yes if you guys were stick in that category.
It's probably a high B, but it could still be in B. B and B.
I don't know.
Objections. Say something.
Whatever you guys
I-
think. I
Are we sweet in
myself,
place with the Goblin Builder?
I would put him higher than the Goblin Builder, but I don't know if anybody agrees with me.
I would second that. Yeah.
Bill, are you okay with moving this down?
I'm okay with moving that down. I disagree with putting it higher necessarily in my own right, but I think based on the general
Yeah.
group, I'd say this is the right play. And then I would also consider moving Orn down as well, like Orn or Swig. Yeah, I think there's some play in that B range. That some things could go down.
I'm pretty sure we need to rearrange these soon. But moving on to the next Goblin, and that is Thump. And I'm just throwing him down at the D to hear what you guys say.
Let's
where
make an announcement real quick on as a side note on the producer end. So Legion's Lady starts in about 15 minutes on their YouTube channel. If you guys head on over there and want to watch them, then by all means, definitely do that. You can always come back here and watch the replay when you're ready. We're going to see this out because we're down to so many. But if you don't want to miss Legion's Ladies, they have 2 fantastic guests. Shoot on over to their YouTube channel at 7:30 and give them a watch. But don't worry, folks. We're gonna finish these last couple.
Let's make sure that we finish this within these 15 minutes, and then you can see that as well.
I think we can pull it off.
Yes. Thump.
Higher than D for me.
Yeah,
But
I
like
would
maybe
say he's
maybe
a
C.
great C.
Yeah.
Yeah, his
This is one-
story, the sculpt. I'm sorry, Bill.
This is one that like I was saying earlier, like I'm not a huge fan of the 1.0 armor on the goblin body. This is one where I'm sort of okay with it because of the character and the head sculpt and stuff. So yeah, I mean, maybe a different shoulder armor, but the bigger shoulder armor makes sense with that head. So yeah, and the paint on that armor is fantastic. It's a really cool looking armor scheme. So yeah, I don't like it at D, but I understand why people might want it there.
Yep.
I'm good with putting him at C. We've got the room.
Yeah, we have room for now.
We only have a few figures left, so.
But. Okay.
Anybody
C?
else have? Yeah, I'm good with that. Do we have strong
I'm good
feelings in
with
the
C.
chat at all?
A lot of C's.
Hey, what's
Yeah,
up?
it's really the head that makes him distinctive.
There's definitely a lot of C's and there's actually a lot of D's for a good old Thump. Let me see. Where do you guys have him at C?
I want
think
him
that
at D.
works. What's that?
Okay.
I mean, I think he definitely works there. My personal opinion, I like him better than a C a little bit. I think he's a
Ooh.
great figure. But I think C fits. And looking at the chat, I think C is where he should be.
All right, let's move
Okay,
on.
then we are moving on to almost the last dwarf. We're going to Torgun Redfin.
Ugh.
He's higher than C, right?
Oh yeah.
I think so. He's an A for me, and I know we don't really have the room for him in A.
I want him at A as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He's so distinctive looking over all the other dwarves. He looks like an absolute badass. So you don't want to mess
Yeah.
with him. Come on, Mohawk.
Yeah,
And he has an expression too.
and he has bear chest, and we all know how much I love a bear chest.
Yeah, I never wear T-shirt when I'm at his place because he's like, we don't do that around here, and I'm like, okay.
Where's Curtis to tell you it's a human chest? I think this figure is all about the head sculpt.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It is.
It like that's the main thing. So I kind of am down in B. Like the character is awesome, the head sculpt is amazing. There's not a ton special about the rest of the figure, but that's why it's probably in the B for me.
Mm.
Joe.
I love his
Yeah,
shield.
he's closer. I'm just looking at everyone else. I feel like he's closer to an A because he like I said, he's so much more distinctive from all the other dwarves as far as like the use of torso. I realize that that the bare chest is a widely used piece, but as far as dwarves go, he's the only one like
That's
that.
true.
When we have a bunch of other dwarves that are using a lot of the same parts,
Yes.
Got it.
yeah, I mean, I like him more than Gonks, and I
Me
like
too.
Gonks a
I was
lot.
gonna say that as well.
Same
And
here.
I disagree. I think that the bare chest is underused, but we need more of it. But yeah, I would swap Gonks with him. I would swap.
That's my suggestion as well.
Um,
Len, we are down to 9 minutes. That's our deadline.
Yeah, okay,
So-
we're good. I mean, so we have for Torgan we have 5S, 4A, 2Bs, 1D, and 1C. So it's definitely spread. It's in the middle. I think he's fine at A. I love the look.
I think so
guy.
too.
I think he's great because
Yeah.
he got a dirty nose, and people got confused and thought they had smudge paint jobs when he came out, and that was hysterical to watch. And I hope that Joe got pestered by quality control questions about it because that's fun.
That was before my time. We weren't selling Torgan at any shows in the time I was working here, but I can tell you for a fact that the paint master did not leave the studio with that mark on the nose. That is something that happened over there between the time that they received it and the time that it was made. And
Oh, then we're not supposed to have that.
I really don't think so. In fact, even the sample that was sent back to us didn't have that. So it's not like we approved the smudge. It's just how it came. So
Someone somewhere thought that he needed to have a dirty nose, and it works.
I think, and I've grown to love it. My kids were weird when they came out too, but over time I get to love them.
well, he's so
So-
angry. He's always fuming. So just imagine that's like a little bit of soot coming out when he's all like, because he's
Big
always
class,
fired
I
up.
have to break you guys up there because we are on a deadline here and we have some stuff to do.
So
Are you
Gonks
guys
down.
okay with moving down Gonks?
Yeah. Yep.
And then we need to move someone down from this line.
Ooh,
Orn
Cavern Dwarf.
maybe or Swig.
Cavern Dwarf.
Okay, Cavern
me.
Dwarf. Yeah, that would work.
And then we go back to now we have Thwig, last goblin. And I assume, Bill, that this is one of the ones that you want up here.
Yeah, he's he's probably my number 2, like right next to Noob Nick. He's
Yeah.
one of my favorite goblins. He's just so useful. Just I have a lot of him. Like he's
And I
kind of
don't
like a
have one.
builder body to me. I just think it's got a ton of unique, like the red horns, his mischievous face. He's just got this awesome armored body. I'm just a huge fan of that fully armored goblin body. There's just something about it. So it's kind of like it's almost like a Noobnik 2 for me in some ways. Like it's just that build that is like perfect for me. So this is very high for me. I don't think it's going to be very high for others, but for me, I love this guy.
I'm just gonna agree with you with that. I don't have him, but I've always found him like super menacing and cool. So I want him high as well. And if he goes on All-Star, I'm getting a few for sure. Steven?
I like him too. I don't think he's not super high. He's not like an S tier for me. He's more like if I didn't have to worry about where the other figures were, he'd probably be the B range for me. I don't think he belongs in D or C though. So
No.
this is hard, being given what we have to work with.
Yeah. Well, I think. Well, do you want to say something, Joe, before we bring in Len? Where do you want him?
I say he's like a B or a C. because you can switch out the things in the helmet and make him look like, just another like a different goblin on the field. And I love the face sculpt, but again, this is another character where the head really makes it, and everything else is just kind of so-so. So I'd say he's probably closer to a C in my opinion, but I'm a big fan of the head.
Got it. Len, Legion's Len.
Hello. So, this one, the highest vote count for him was B, and then
Oh,
which was 6, 5 in the A tier, 3 in C tier, and S had 1 and D had 1.
it sounds like B to me. But wait a minute. Both you and I want him up, Bill.
I personally
Yeah.
like him higher in the A.
I like
or
him at
B.
A.
I like him. I agree with Bill and all of his points he made. I think he's a wonderful figure, and he has a lot of personality. He's a lot of fun.
But on the other hand, both Steven and Joe. No, you were fine here. No, both of you want him lower. So I would, sadly, think that this is where he's gonna be. I don't agree
I
with it.
absolutely have him. I would have him higher than Swig. So if there's something to move down, I would maybe vote Swig.
Yeah,
Could go
me
down.
too. Are you guys okay with
Yeah,
that?
I'd be all right with that.
Yeah, I'm fine
Yeah.
with that too.
Final figure. Have I missed someone? No. Oh, we have to move one down here
This
as
is
well.
rough.
One of these
Yep.
needs to be moved down.
I would say bronze dwarf, honestly.
What? He's gone all the way down there. I don't know. I mean, like I could see Mephitor dropping down.
Oh, I would definitely do Malfator or Deluxe.
I second
down
that.
Before
Okay, that's
before
Mephitor.
bronze.
And now the last one. We only have
Ooh,
2 minutes. Where do we want
I
him?
I love the colors of this guy. He's so awesome. He's so heroic.
He's so cool. I
Oh, I
love
would
this.
like to have him for my Ethereum faction.
This is
Yeah.
this was the Kickstarter exclusive, right?
Yep.
Very few people have him. Sought after.
Last chance
Um,
you had to get him was if you sent the Horsemen a Christmas card. They had a competition running where if you sent them an awesome card, like some art that they would give you one. They ended up liking a lot of people's, and they sent out a bunch of them. And I think that was the last chance that you can get it. Besides a couple of G-Cons, where it was a prize.
I'm suggesting D.
I suggest we give him Orange Steelhide's position.
Yes.
I would agree
And
with
then we move Orange Steelhide to Bronze Dwarf and Bronze Dwarf to D.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm down with that.
I like that.
Let's just see if there is. Len, you're welcome back to summarize if we put him at the right tier. Otherwise,
I did not finish adding them up yet. Give me one
sorry,
second.
we were a little bit eager, but we just
And
want to
so
respect
seeing that we're trying to hurry things up, if this were it, we're damn close to what it's going to be if not done.
There's like
Who won?
3 Ds, 3 S's, 5 A's. Where did you have them at? B?
Yeah. Then it's we have a pretty good spread. And
Yeah, I mean, I personally would have him in A or S because I think he's amazing. I think the colors are amazing. I think it's an awesome figure. His history and his story are absolutely incredible. I would personally would want him higher than like a Numnick
I
or
would
a
agree with
Hellfire
that too.
Goblin, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I like him more than Durand, to be honest. I like him way more than Durand.
I guess I want to more than Jordan, but it's,
I mean, does anyone
But-
here think he should be lower than the Hellfire Goblin? Like, for real?
And I can't
Yes.
believe I'm saying this, but
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, as
that's
far
fine.
as, like,
I mean, I
in-
just wanted... all
In
right.
parts, absolutely.
I don't think he should be. I hate to say this. I don't think he should be lower than Thord. Thord has, but Thord got a ton of votes, right?
he did.
Yeah, he did.
He did. I wanted him lower, but this is, yeah.
Well, I'll back you up there, Steve. I think I like Halmir more than Thord. and they're almost
Right.
the same they're almost the same sculpt. So as far as colors go, I like Halimir more than Thord, and I think I like even Valgard more than Thord.
Oh, people got opinions now.
Yeah, now everyone's kind of throwing something
this
out
is-
here. A
this
lot of
is
people
really
think
good.
that some people think Jorn's too high.
Hmm. We have a lot of opinion, and that's good. But we've tried. This is the thing.
I agree with Curtis on Nubnik, even though I like Nubnik, but
I like Numnik a lot too, but I'd have to say that I think Valgard should be higher than Numnik. I mean,
So anyway, that's the
I
thing, because
disagree
we have
with that
all
one.
individual lists, and if we were gonna do this one by one, our list would be, of course, different. But compared to all the people, the 70, 80 people who has been in the chat, like this is what we've been putting together. So it will be interesting. I will, in a couple of days, I will put this up in the Cabal, and then we'll see people's angry messages and love and hate for this tier. But
If you keep opening the oven and checking to see if it's done, it'll never get done.
This is true. This is true.
and that's interesting, because I never want to be done with this.
yeah. If you're watching, you're not baking.
so who won?
right. Yeah.
Dwarves or goblins?
Dwarves have the most S,
It's true.
4S.
And it's 3-3 on the 8th tier.
Yep. And then it's 1, 2, 3, 4 on the Bs.
It's pretty even. It's pretty
goblins.
close, actually.
It's pretty close.
Yeah.
More
Right.
dwarves on the D. So like if you're gonna say dwarves should win it because they have more in the S, then you should say dwarves should lose it because they have more in the D. So there's like that counterbalance to the S to the D kind of thing.
Well, this is what we have. We're going to try
Yes.
to wrap this up because we're trying
Yes.
to be friendly and respectful. So, but
We should have scheduled a post-game show.
everybody, make your own decision. Who wins? Dwarves, goblins?
When
Maybe
Emil
this-
puts this up in the Cabal, make sure you sound off on it. Let us know
Yep.
what you think.
Sound off
Yep.
there and sound off after later when this video is just like a replay. Sound off in the comments of that video.
Yeah,
Yes.
please. And if you haven't liked and subscribed on YouTube, if you're watching us there, please do that. Check us out in the Cabal. Love us. Thank you. We love you. Thank you guys for coming in and doing this with us. It was a blast for you and Joe and Bill. Love
Go
having
watch
you.
Legions Ladies right now. They have the 2 cosplayers from Legions Con.
Do it
watch
now.
Do it now.
Bye.
No! Oh, that's the wrong shtick, isn't it? Sorry.